RotoGrinders, Mlb Dfs conversation starts now, taking y'all straight up the lock. 8-game Mlb Dfs slate. We yielded the Crunch Time crew 6:15 or so. I believe it's TastefulTides, Tim, the 3-entry, single-entry max specialist. And then, of course, you got Keith Eyster, Ice, chiming in. He tends to, make 20-entry max. That's kind of like the zone he sticks with. Of course, y'all get keeping around just Kevin Roth, if anything is lurking out there weather-wise. I believe he's a little bit under the weather. Hopefully he'll be better later on the show. He'll be able to make it. And that's kind of the, that's sort of the theme of the show here, TJ. You've been battling sickness for, it seems like, several weeks now. We appreciate you jumping on. I appreciate you jumping on, powering through. Hopefully you're feeling better. How was your weekend? But I guess, you're not 100%, a little bit of a case of the Mondays for you.
I'm doing better. And so I was thinking about this before I came on the show. You never really want to be sick, but it couldn't possibly have been timed better if I was going to be sick. I was fine. I went to the Calgary Expo. All was well. I came home with COVID, was really sick for a few days, but it went away pretty quick. Tested negative on Thursday, went to Guardians of the Galaxy. That was great. Friday started feeling like crap again. Ended up having pneumonia. And so had a difficult weekend, but I had a video game I was excited to play. And so I basically just laid in bed playing video games all weekend, finished Star Wars Jedi Survivor. And now I'm coming out on the other side, starting to feel a little bit better. So I still got to do the things I wanted to do. And so it didn't feel all that bad.
Give the people, I know on your site, I'm sure you have a full review and all sorts of coverage. Give them a 30-second spoiler-free review of Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
You don't have to have seen anything else other than the other Guardians movies and Infinity War. It's the best of the Guardians movies. It's hilarious. It's got some super unique action sequences. All the character arcs get tied up. It is a really good movie.
My understanding is this is the last one. Why? It's like a license to print money. Or they just they're going to have some offshoots and some different kind of sequels, or I guess bottle episodes or bottle movies. What's the story there? Why would they not keep this going? They're just making billions of dollars.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe is continuing. This is just the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The director, James Gunn, is now the head of DC Studios. He runs the competitor now. So he won't be making any more movies with them. And the kind of plan from the beginning when he was writing the movies for these characters was for them to always have it wrapped up in a trilogy. And you can really tell here because the main purpose, so much of these movies is often about continuing the expanding universe, but this one is really just about telling these characters' stories.
Yeah, I've seen I lost a bet to Grant, and we used to do this thing on a podcast where basically you'd assign the other person a movie to watch if you lose, and he assigned me both Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I thought they were fine. The movies I never would have really sought out. I've never seen the Infinity War you referenced, and I feel like that's one of the big movies that you have to watch, basically. That's if you want to follow along with that universe. That was not a science.
It's it was like Infinity War and Endgame were the big culmination event movies, and I could tell you what happens in it really quick, and you'll know what is being referenced in that movie, but that's quite literally the only movie outside of the Guardians trilogy that is referenced in it.
All right, fair enough. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? Kindly hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. I see J3, you want me to reference Oakland facing Tampa. Fun game, fun series. Teams 1 and 2, I believe, in the American League East right now. Unfortunately, not on the slate. Good matchup, too. I think McClanahan versus, is it Kyle Gibson? I don't have a team. I know you have the Blue Jays. As somebody who doesn't have a team, I certainly root for teams like Tampa and teams like Baltimore, kind of the underdog, if you want to call it that. So
teams like Toronto.
They're not underdog, but if you compare them to Boston and New York, I suppose, over the years, sure. I like Toronto's team, actually. I like a good young core, fun team to root for. And they seem to have a great time, too. I feel like you just watch them in the dugout. That team seems to have just a blast. So it shows. All right. What's up, chat? Mr. Richard and Derek and Stan. And I see Devin, D-Train. Shout out to D-Train. He took down, I think he won the single entry $12 on Sunday or Saturday. So congrats to producer Devin. I know you were talking pre-show. You said that you did a good job content-wise. You had people sliding in your DMs. I don't know if they're sliding into Spidey's DMs because Spidey's been hot as well with the Spidey bombs. Yesterday, you gave out some solid advice, and some people took down some tournaments, so shout out to them. let it be known. Tweet us as well. And I don't know if you're tweeting just you or sliding in the DMs. We'll shout you out in the show. Happy to do that. Even like you said, you even mentioned like you weren't feeling spectacular, but just knowing that like whatever you threw out there in the world, you help somebody out. It feels good. If you're losing a bunch of American dollars or loonies and toonies, it feels good when other people are benefiting. So hopefully we'll do that and keep that momentum going forward. Today, this is a good show to stretch on, TJ, because it's an 8-gamer. We're here for an hour and 8 minutes till we yield to the Crunch Time crew. Give me the screenshot as far as this slate, because I'm trying to find an angle. I have one angle, but I think everybody else is going to have the same angle. I'm not really sure. Well, I have two angles, but like they're kind of the obvious angles. But I also feel like whatever becomes chalk from a hitter-wise, if it's like not super flat, if there's like really chalky hitters, it's probably not great chalk just because but there's one team barely. San Francisco is a team total above 5, New York just under 5. But there's like no incredible spot. There's no team I'm like, oh man, I can't imagine making a single entry lineup and not having this team. Like I can do it. Nothing feels like something I gotta have. I'm curious what your assessment is. Obviously, bring the pitchers in too, but your 30,000 foot view as far as tonight's slate, what is it?
Yeah, I'm with you. Nothing is standing out as all that spectacular, but we're gonna find something. It's like you said, the Spidey bombs have been hot. Yesterday, it was Varsho and Chris Bryant. Both of them knocked one out of the park. We were stacking Blue Jays. We were stacking Rockies. That went pretty well for us. So we're ready to keep it going today. We'll drop a Spidey bomb every 50 likes. And yeah, it's kind of ugly. Like I'm getting no offense. Am I getting in more than 15% of stacks? And I'm getting 6 offenses at 9% stacks or more. And then it's kind of flattening out after that. There are a couple pretty decent stands I'm looking to take in tournaments that I think can go pretty well. And then from a pitching standpoint, like Gallen and Gilbert are going to be my two chalkiest guys. I'm going to try and go a little underweight on Nestor Cortez since he's kind of looking like he's going to be the mega chalk today. And then like I'm just sprinkling in a bunch of other pieces and not getting a whole lot else other than like Gallen and Gilbert are going to be my guys by a lot.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the ownership stuff right now, and I want to see if there's any distinct difference between the bad ownership and the plate IQ ownership. I think it's pretty similar, and I'm a little bit surprised as well, as far as what you're saying, as far as, nasty Nestor Cortez. Obviously, he's facing Oakland. A lot of fly balls this year. I think his fly balls this year like over 60%, something egregious. 64.8% fly balls. 1.64 homers per 9. That's with just 10.2% homers going over the fence. So he's been lucky when it comes to homer to fly ball. I know he's facing Oakland. Yeah, we want to pick on them, but and money, salary's not that big a deal on the slate. I'll just pay up and get Zach Gallen revenge game against the Marlins. The Marlins do have some contact guys that are pretty annoying. Arise, assuming he's in the lineup. Gurriel, assuming he's in the lineup, but there are plenty of Ks also. And Gallen's just like as far as best pitcher, he's the best pitcher when it comes to arm talent. And I'm probably going to pair him with Gilbert as well. I like Disco Stew a little bit. I don't know if I need to stretch down and save some salary. Freddie Peralta for tournaments, sure. Cease for tournaments, sure. I'm curious how you're going to handle those two because I assume are you running like your 150 or 170? How many lineups you rolling with today?
150 today, and I actually do not have any Freddie Peralta as it stands, and a very small amount of Dylan Cease.
Interesting. Why is that?
Because Dylan Cease has not looked good, and Freddie Peralta faces the Dodgers.
Yeah, no Vargas in that Dodgers lineup, no Will Smith in that Dodgers lineup. So the Dodgers lineup is a little bit worse than it typically would be. And I think we're getting more Ks as well. Let me just pull it up. I'm pulling up the play IQ right now. I was looking at it earlier. It seemed like a slight upgrade. And Peralta, when you catch him on the right night, he's got a chance to rack up 7, 8, 9, 10 strikeouts. And that could be the most on this slate. And I agree with you. I don't want to pick on the Dodgers. And of course, the Dodgers get a ballpark bump as well in Milwaukee. Let's see. Betts, Freeman, Hayward batting third. Muncy, Outman, Peralta. Bush is a good person to pick on. Small sample, but 42% strikeout so far. He was kind of forced up, I think, through injury, not necessarily a promotion. Eventually, he was supposed to be a big leaguer, but not just yet. Rojas is back, and he's annoying because he's a super contact guy, kind of like a Nicky Lopez type. And then Austin Barnes in there for Will Smith. But Peralta, 27.4% Ks dating back to last season. I would get a pinch, but I hear you if you just want to condense. And same sort of deal with Cease. And Cease
I'll get a pinch. You
annoying.
convince me to get a pinch.
Yeah, I mean that lineup for LA is not as strong as you want it to be. Jason Hayward's batting third. I know Hayward's, his exit velocity stuff is great this year. His hard hit stuff is great this year in the small sample, the sample we have. And then there's what'd you say? What do you have as far as Cease right now?
About 15%. Nothing crazy about him. Like as in my last build, I just added Peralta to it, but like in my last build, I had almost 50% Gallen and Gilberts, and nobody else outside of Cortez at 25 over 20.
This is a good show, by the way. The slate's small enough. We have plenty of time. If you have any sort of like general strategy questions, feel free to fire them off. Happy to answer those. I did see one question that stood out to me. Now I have to find it. I believe it was Adele. Let's see. Do you normally stack single entry or just play best player per position? How often do you play single entry stuff? I mean, so like it's what is a stack, right? Because to me, I'm happy to play like 4-2-2. I can play 4-2-1-1 in a single entry.
At bare minimum,
you're saying you won't do that.
4 players from one team on DraftKings, and at bare minimum, you need 3 players from one team on FanDuel. If I'm doing a 4, it's usually a 4-4 as opposed to a 4-2-2 or a 4-2-1-1. But like I had hand built a lineup today in a single entry setting that I'll just try and find it here because it's not at the top, but I'm pretty sure it was like it's either a 5-1-1-1 or a 4-3-1.
I'm good with
something
that.
Like that. And
also, the smaller the slate, the more willing I'm to go. I am to go like 3-3-2-1-1, like something like that, right? If it's a 15-game slate, I probably want to grab 5 or 4, and then at least a mini stack and maybe a one-off. But that matters too, right? And also, this slate again, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of teams like, oh my god, I got to get a share of this team and a share of that team, and then you're just like sometimes I'm just homer hunting, basically.
Yeah.
Derek says 4-4 seems to be getting more popular than 5-3 on TK lately. So I'm not somebody that goes through this stuff as much as I maybe should. The results DB stuff, do you go through that as far as like going back on previous slates and seeing what the field's doing and reacting to it and saying, well, the field's not doing this enough or there's doing this too much? And everybody knows in our bubble, you're supposed to stack correlation, yada, yada. And you mentioned FanDuel. Obviously, it's a better thing on FanDuel. The way the scoring system lines up in FanDuel, correlation is rewarded more in FanDuel than it is on DK. Not that it's not rewarded on DK, just to a greater extent on FanDuel. But do you find that? Do you agree with that sentiment? I don't know what Derek is suggesting. I assume he's right. But I assume he's looking at the data. Oh, that's a just.
I have no data, just gut.
Go to Results DB. There you go. You check out the data. Is that something you look at? Because I'm guilty of not digging into that stuff. Because I also don't run 150 lineups. That information is not as useful to me how I play. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. That's not something I dive into significantly either, just because for me it always depends on the teams playing and stuff like that. And so I got my baseball formula and it works pretty well, and I don't mess with it too much at this point. That is things I start diving into when the cold streaks get extra long and things like that. But no, I haven't paid too much attention to that at any point this year.
Steven says we got to ask Blender about this, right? Blender digs in this stuff. He talks about this on his show, which is generally on weekdays, 11 o'clock in the morning. And I should also mention, before Blender's show comes on, 10:30. 10:30, yeah, you got to get early when it comes to these props. Will's show, Take Your Pick'em show. It comes on 10:30 on, of course, you guys know Will from the Prop Shop Discord channel. The Discord channel is free for everybody. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Just jump in the prop shop. People talking props all day long. But, he's focusing on, this is Chief Justice. You guys know Chief Justice. He's focusing on mostly underdog and prize picks and taking advantage of lines that are wrong, lines that will get adjusted later in the day. Lines that are probably been adjusted now. They're it's too late. So you probably missed it, but you probably could have got yourself a hook or an extra point or something like that. If you're on top of it 10:30 in the morning, do check out Will's show. Weekdays, 10:30 in the morning. It's called the Take Your Pick'em show. You're definitely going to want to, if you're playing anything like underdog, if you're playing anything like prize picks, that's where you want to go to get the best lines, the earliest lines, take advantage of soft lines before, the pack pounces and they get adjusted to where they should be. People are checking out the cardies, the bats, I'm sure. And, that kind of stuff moves the needle. I try to look at it like the night before, and unfortunately those sites are getting sharper and they're not putting the numbers up and the ones that I want. late at night, the night before. But, if you catch it at the right time, you absolutely get yourself a huge advantage. And it's the difference sometimes between winning and losing as well. Let's see. What else is going on here in the chat? I see some people talking about.
Speaking of lines that aren't necessarily right, we have 50 likes, and so it is time for our first Spidey bomb. Now, in about 100 bat sample size, Dean, if somebody's batting with a 247 ISO, 435 WOBA, just absolutely great hard contact, 43% of the time, what do you think their odds to hit a home run should be against an absolutely trash pitcher?
Okay. I thought you were going to tell me who it is or like what pitcher it is. It's an absolute trash pitcher. Okay, so is this what we were talking about pre-show? Because I was predicting the Spidey bombs. I have a direct line apparently.
Yeah, and so I don't want to, I think Jock Peterson is a phenomenal play today, especially with DFS, but that's actually not who we're going to go with for the first Spidey bomb, because although plus 400 for Jock isn't bad, I want to go a little ambitious today. So Jock was in contention for a Spidey bomb, but Spidey and I decided to go with a teammate for the first one.
Did you adjust on the fly? Because we had this conversation and I thought, okay, and you consulted with Spidey. And now if mushes are real, now Jock's going to homer and like Spidey's going to be like, oh man, I should have stuck with my gut.
If Jock homers, that'll just be par for the course. That's fine. We're okay with that. This guy's going to homer too.
It's going to be either JD Davis or Lamont Wade. It's one of those two, correct?
No.
Oh. Wait. Okay. So it's like going to be a huge number. Is it like Mitch Haniger? I've not looked at the odds.
Thairo Estrada, one of the very best bats against right-handed pitching so far this season. 247 ISO, and he's got plus 700 odds on FanDuel today. Thairo Estrada's hitting one out of the park. Spidey bomb number one. Thairo Estrada, as it stands right now, actually my highest owned bat, believe it or not.
So is that your favorite team? Because we're not talking hitters just yet, but like spoiler alert, the Giants are my favorite team today, like by a good bit for a couple of reasons. Oakland, we know, is the worst bullpen in all of baseball, right? It's not a surprise. Their Sierra 5.59, their bullpen Sierra is almost a full run higher than the second worst team, which is insane. Their walk rate is 14.4%, which is almost as high as their K rate, which is 16.7%. Oakland, that is. So terrible. There's 16.7% strikeout rate in a bullpen. Like most bullpens are throwing like 595 gas. It's just terrible how bad that organization is. We'll talk about the Yankees obviously soon enough. But Washington is the second worst bullpen in baseball from Sierra, 4.67. Not a lot of strikeouts either. Too many walks, 11.3%, 19.3% as far as the case. But I'm bearing the lead. Why do I like San Francisco so much? What's the thing about San Francisco we hate, TJ? Like what's the thing we're always afraid of? Maybe it's just me. I'm kind of paranoid when rostering players with San Francisco. When they get to the bullpen, what happens? We get into that pinch hitting territory, right?
Pinch hit risk.
How many lefties are in the Washington bullpen?
0, Dean. A big old 0.
So unless I'm just confirming that they didn't call anybody up. Unless somebody was called up, unless I missed something, it is all right-handers because, Washington's not a professional organization. They don't even think. They don't have the foresight. Like, it'll help us win games. Maybe, just maybe, we have some guys that throw from both the left side and the right side from a strategy perspective, right? Not considered. They don't care about such things there in Washington. So just an absolute disaster of an organization. And it's all people throwing from the right-hand side. I suppose it's possible, guys can get pinch hit for if the situation calls for it. If somebody's sitting out that's not as good as the guy that's actually starting, and then, it's an 8, tie game in the 8th inning, whatever. It's possible. We don't know what the lineup is just yet. At least I haven't seen it. But it's significantly, the chances of a pinch hit are reduced. I'm pulling up the Washington bullpen at the fly. I just want to confirm that, Flanagan, Harvey, Edwards, Machado, Thompson, Ramirez, Harris, and Ward all thrown from the right-hand side. So unless there's been a move that I missed, they're not going to bring in Patrick Corbin. They're not going to bring in Mackenzie Gore. If the game is an absolute blowout and maybe Dominic Smith throws in the left-hand side, I think you'll be okay in the 8th inning. But, I love San Francisco, and I don't know if this is something that people are on top of, but I'm always on top of this stuff when it comes to San Francisco and how many lefties and righties are facing out of that pen. But and the rest of the slate, as far as hitters, is bad. Again, we're not really focusing so much on hitters, but I just wanted to get it out there. I want to get my point out there about the Giants. Yeah, are they going to be chalky? Is it going to be kind of flat? I don't know where people are at as far as the Giants.
I think it's going to be pretty flat. And like right now in our ownership projections, all the highest owned guys, they're Yankees. There's a couple Dodgers, a couple Arizona guys, a couple White Sox bats. They're not exactly sneaky today, like Haniger, Estrada. Some of these guys are going to be picking up some ownership. We're currently projecting Jock for less than 10, which I don't see happening. I think that'll be up a little bit higher, but maybe people really are that afraid of the pinch hit risk. And if that's going to be the case, then yeah, I want to get heavily overweight on those lefties. I'm with you guys there. They're right up there with my favorite stacks. I don't think they're quite like a tier above for me like they are for you, but they're definitely in tier 1, and they'll probably be my highest owned team.
Mason Miller to be evaluated for elbow tightness. That's a bummer. That's the dude. That's the Miller for Oakland, right? That's the Oakland Miller, I think. Yeah. That stinks.
That's the Oakland Miller.
And he was always injured. I think that's why we barely saw him in the minors. And like he throws like 109, so I guess it's not terribly shocking. Angels lineup just came out. Ward, Trout, Otani, Rendon, Renfroe, Drury, Tice, Urshela, and Neto. Nice when they put Neto in 9 as opposed to – I like when Ward leads off as opposed to Neto personally. We just got Seattle. J-Rod, France, Kelnick, Suarez, Big Dumper, Raleigh, Hernandez, Crawford, Caballero, and then Trammell is the DH there for Seattle. So no Giants lineup just yet. Back to pitchers. I agree with you as far as Gallen. Like, it's not that hard to get him. I'm prioritizing arms. I think the arms are more predicted than the bats today. So is it possibly a lock button situation? Where are you at as far as Gallen? Because it's 30% owners. I don't agree with this. And sometimes I'm just one person, and it's not like you said the same thing. We currently have Cortez at 51%, Gallen at 30%, and Gilbert at 33%. And I like Cortez fine. But I think I have him third there, at least second. So I don't really understand why Cortez is getting 51%. And we'll see as far as ownership. It might change, or maybe I'm just wrong. But I feel like that Gallen's going to be higher. Cortez might be a little bit lower. What is your thought in that as far as ownership wise?
I hope not. I hope that's not the case because I will in that case just keep getting to lots of Gallen and less Cortez. I could see that evening out a little bit. It just like it depends a lot as well. Like we like Gallen best here. I think Cheese does too. But if you look at our projections, I think he is the highest projected pitcher by just a little bit. If you look at the bat, he is like 5 points projected less than Nestor Cortez. And so
a little closer in the bat. Yeah.
No, further away in the bat. Cortez is projected for 23 points and Gallen's projected for 18.
I believe you're looking at Fanduel, sir.
DraftKings. Unless I'll do a refresh and see if it's changed, but I'm not.
I believe you're looking at
DraftKings the bat.
I don't know. Hit the refresh button. Maybe restart the router.
23.27s DraftKings the bat X projection for Nestor Cortez and 18 flat for Zach Gallen.
I don't know what you're looking at, sir.
That's what it is. Looking at lineup HQ.
What? Hold on a second. Now you're making me refresh. I'm doing all sorts of things. DraftKings MLB. Hold on. I think you might be
to ours. Nestor Cortez is at 20.32 and Zach Gallen is at 18.48. So on both, Nestor Cortez is projected for more, but on the bat, he's projected for more by a larger margin.
I'm still certain. I'm pretty sure you're on FanDuel. You go up to the top where it says Site Sport, FanDuel, MLB, or DraftKings.
Yeah, no,
MLB.
I'm not. Dean, stop. No, I'm not.
Okay. I guess I have to refresh because it's so weird. Are we looking at two totally different things? Because I see Cortez at 45%, Gallen at 37%, Gilbert 34%. But the chat's telling me that I'm wrong. Kirkwood's saying that you're correct as well. So I don't know what's going on my stuff, but I'm seeing different numbers than you are. But continue.
Are you looking at the bat?
I'm looking at both. I'm jumping back and forth. Yeah.
Are you talking about ownership projections? Because everyone else is talking about fantasy points.
Oh, I'm talking about ownership projections.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
we're talking about fantasy points, and that's why Nestor Cortez is projected for more ownership.
Why are we talking about fantasy points?
Because you asked why he's higher owned. And so the reason why he's higher owned is because wherever you look, he's projected for more fantasy points.
Okay. We were just talking about two different things. So we're both correct. We're just having two different conversations. Understood. Okay. All right. So ownership wise is what I was asking about. And I guess at some point I either said the wrong thing to derail it, but I apologize.
So yeah, your question was, why is Nestor Cortez picking up so much more ownership?
Yeah.
And so I said, depending on where you look, like on RG, we only have him projected for a couple more fantasy points than Zach Gallen. So you'd think it would be close. But if you switch it to the bat, and I'm assuming elsewhere in the industry, this is probably similar, which is bumping up his projected ownership, he's projected for a lot more fantasy points. And with being projected by a lot more fantasy points, that's why he's getting more projected ownership.
All right, fair enough. I guess I wasn't listening as well as I should have been because I didn't hear the part where you're talking about fantasy points. My bad. But the main point though is that I hope this is correct. Depending on where you're looking as far as the plate IQ projections or the bat projections, we currently have Cortez as high as 51, as low as 42%, Gilbert 35, Gallen 36. That feels a little bit more. Those three, right? And beyond that, Miles Mikolas, good matchup there today. At least as far as weather. The weather's really, really conducive to throwing baseballs today. I believe it's 7 as far as the total in that game, right? Chicago versus St. Louis. Pulling up the weather edge, going to give that a refresh as well. But last I saw, really, really positive weather for pitching. Yeah, 69 game sample. Is that nice enough for you? 69 games that work for you?
Sure, that's nice.
Okay. Yes. 31.9% downgrade. I was throwing it up there to you. I was giving it to you. I was right there. I was just like Dwayne Wade throwing up the LeBron, basically. 69 game sample, 31% hit as far as homers, 3.4% hit as far as total runs. So not as many runs, but the homers certainly suppressed in that sample. 50 degrees is the temperature. The wind's blowing in from left center at 11 miles per hour. Dew point is 49 if you care about such things. Does not look like great baseball weather. Not spectacular anywhere. KC, slight downgrade for homers, slight upgrade as far as runs, wind blowing in a little bit, but it is pretty hot considering 82. 64 out there in LA. I don't know if that means the marine layer is lurking or not. San Fran, massive sample size, 406 games. Slight downgrade with homers, kind of a big downgrade, actually, 16.9%, despite the fact wind is blowing out at 10 miles per hour. But the way they built that ballpark is they try to subdue wind as much as possible. Still, I guess I like the Giants because, where else are we going to go? Yankee Stadium looks pretty good. We have a 87 game sample. Homers taking a spike of 18%, 16.5% spike. And when it comes to runs, 9 mile per hour winds out to right center field, 72 degrees, 43 dew point. And the Yankees are facing Oakland. And I'm curious to have that conversation shortly as far as the Yankees. I don't really know what to do because theoretically they're really well positioned. If nothing else, against a terrible bullpen. Sears, is supposed to be good eventually. He's shown in moments, but he's also been poor at times. Just that Yankee lineup is horrendous. But let's knock out the rest of the pitchers. Mikolas, cheap if you need him at Chicago. By the way, Chicago called up Christopher Morel, who he came up last year, a lot of fun. He was smashing in AAA this year. They called him up and not even starting him. What's the point? What are you doing? I believe they didn't play Wisdom all weekend. I'm very critical of the Cubs, apparently. Keith will be on later, and I'm going to ask him, what's the story with this Cubs? Because why would you call the guy up and just throw him straight in the bench? Let him get his reps in, if nothing else. But, other pitchers. Mikolas, on the other side of that, of course, we have Stroman, who seems a little bit overpriced. St. Louis has come to life. Good for them. Of course, we like him better against lefties as opposed to righties. Like the arm of Hunter Brown, kind of sputtered last time out, walked away too many guys. The Angels, of course, pretty top-heavy, but that top is really, really strong. I think he's just a tick overpriced for my liking. I don't think I'm getting there in the few lineups I make. I'm curious your thoughts if he's in your pool. And then you have Anthony Discofani against Washington. Good ballpark as well. An offense that probably doesn't homer against them, so they got to BABIP him. Not going to pile up a ton of Ks, but should be able to eat up 5 or 6 innings. Decent chance at a W. What amongst those players I threw out there, who was most interesting?
Hunter Brown, I think, is the one that is the most interesting for upside. Mikolas, from a salary perspective, is probably the one of that group I'll get the most of. For tournaments, just Desclafani, I think, is the one that I want to get the most of. But honestly, my biggest takeaway is since naming that group, it actually made me decide I think I'm going to just hit the X button on Nestor Cortez today.
I like it. It's bold.
Just on game, like not because I think he's a bad play, but because I think for 51% ownership, that's just not for me. I think enough of these other guys could outscore him today. I kind of like Oakland stack. It's hot with wind blowing out in New York. And like you said, there's not that many good weather spots today. I think I'm going to do the game theory thing and just X out Nestor Cortez if he's going to be that highly owned.
Yeah, I mentioned before all the fly balls he's given up to 63.7% fly balls, ground ball percent less than 20. You're opening yourself up to give up a couple homers for sure. Not a very patient Oakland team, not a great Oakland team. I know people in the chat want to talk about Rooker, and Aguilar's got a nice history against lefties as far as power as well. I'm trying to check the fly ball guys. Rooker, 45% fly balls. Aguilar, 48% fly balls this year. Let's stretch that back to last season. Are we going to get a similar sample? Similar number. 45% for Rooker. Yeah, Aguilar, 44%. I don't know if Spidey's on those guys or not, but I'm not sure if Spidey is also off on Cortez. But a couple interesting guys if you're kind of a leverage play, right? I don't know if people in chat were talking about stacking Oakland. I don't know if you have to stack Oakland. You certainly can. And if you're running a ton of lineups, yeah, why not? But if nothing else, there seems like some interesting spots picking some one-offs as a quote-unquote leverage play against the super chalky Cortez. At least that's the way our projections are seeing it. Are you getting the Mikolas? Do you really need the salary there? He'll be in the mix, I guess. But, how much salary you need today is the question.
I am, just because, especially when you're doing things like stacking up the top of the Dodgers order and guys like Estrada and Jock Peters. Peterson's cheap, but Estrada's somewhat pricey if you're paying up for a second baseman today. And so, yeah, I'm getting to a little bit of him in my new build that doesn't have Cortez. He is my fourth highest owned guy at about 20%.
Yeah, are you forcing more Oakland stacks now that you're scratching out crossing out some Cortez?
I was getting a lot of them anyways. I'm not getting many 5-man Oakland stacks. Like in 150 lineups, I only have 3, but they are my highest owned mini stack today. They're my highest owned 3-hitter stack.
There is it no? Okay, for some reason I thought somebody was in that lineup, but they are in that lineup. My bad. Mikolas has no upside. Robert, you're right. Mikolas really doesn't have an upside, but he can go 6-ish when he's on. Like he can go 6-ish in like a clean sheet, strike out 3 or 4, and be fine, right?
What if the highest scoring pitcher on today's slate has 20 points?
Yeah, that's the other point that I was I was thinking about. Like, is there really going to be a pitcher today that strikes out 12 or 13? Probably not, or 11 even. If it is, it's probably Gallen. It might actually be
Cortez could go off, Gilbert could go off, Gallen could go off, and Cease could go off. Maybe even Peralta. But all of those guys, except for, Gilbert and Gallen are the two I'm going most heavily overweight on. But if those 5 don't have a ceiling game and just do okay, then all of a sudden a guy like Miles Mikolas is probably going to be optimal. If he just gets
especially
14.
Well, especially if Trout or Ohtani or the guys that you're opening the salary up for do stuff, right? Bats,
yeah.
The bats that are not as easy to get when you're rostering Gallen, when you're rostering Cortez, when you're rostering Gilbert, that kind of thing. That's sort of the thought process there. Kirky in the chat, Kirkwood says, I had a dream Peralta was the nuts today. Do you ever dream about DFS? I don't think I do. Is that something you do? I don't think I've ever dreamed.
My dreams have been honestly just exclusively me being on quests lately because I've been playing so much of the Star Wars game. So it's I always have a very important mission to fulfill in my dream.
You're actually you get to play that out for real. That sounds amazing. You're like the main character. I don't know if it's Solo or somebody. I wouldn't tell you. You actually playing that stuff out? You probably hate waking up. That's incredible. Sounds like a blast.
It gets stressful sometimes because with it being I often have things in my dream happen where as soon as I realize that I'm dreaming, it starts fading away. And so as soon as I actually gain that advantage inside my dream, then I just I don't have it anymore. I don't know how to keep it going. And so I just wake up. And so often in those times, sometimes it's a lot of fun and other times it's just stressful.
Kirkwood said he also owned a boat in the dream. So I guess he does not own a boat. And this is when he knew it was a dream, it was not real. Mr. Gerg said he has nightmares about DFS. Oh, for sure. We've had those in real life. You're not even sleeping when that happens. They're saying Cortez is trash. We're not saying Cortez is trash, to be clear. I'm not saying that. I don't think you're saying that either. Correct?
No, I'm just saying 50% owned is a little bit too much today. We got 86 people who have hit the like button, 14 more for Spidey Bomb number 2. YouTube's been doing this weird thing lately where like as soon as you go in there, you can't actually hit the like button. The like button doesn't exist. You can't see the likes. You can't see the views. And you have to refresh and then it pops up. But for some reason in the first thing, it hasn't been there for some people. And so hit that refresh button, hit the like, and we got Spidey Bomb number 2 as soon as we hit 100.
So Michael is thinking what I'm thinking is like, I'm going to be mad. Basically talk about Gilbert and Gallen are going to be higher owned than Cortez because they're all kind of outsmarting ourselves, and Cortez is going to come in at the third lowest. And that certainly could happen. And I hope it doesn't because I'm with you. Cortez is number 3 out of those 3 for me. Willing to play all 3. We didn't mention Gilbert. Just give me the pitch on Gilbert. He's obviously a solid pitcher.
Solid pitcher who is a good strikeout guy. I'm just popping back to his plate IQ here quick. So far in the season, only a 3.22 xFIP. He's striking out a ton of guys, especially to the left side of the plate, at a 31.5% clip. Texas has a lot of Ks in the back half of their lineup, and depending on the lineup, could be a lot more than others. And so there are some scary guys here, but I think he's got a lot of upside. And so if not that many people are going to play him, I'm down to get to him, and I'm going to make sure I get some Texas stacks as well, just because he's one of those guys that strikes out a lot of bats, but also gets hit hard. And so if a home run to fly ball goes his way, he's going to have a big day, but if not, he could be out of there in a hurry.
No official lineup just yet, but our projected lineup has Jankowski, Lau, Heim, Grossman, and Tavares. That's 5 lefties. If you're to trust the bat, Derek Carty is telling me that Logan Gilbert happens to be a large reverse split pitcher. So you want as many lefties in there as possible. It looks like we're 5 projected. So I do like that. And like his walks are awesome, 6.3%, good control guy. The Ks are not elite, but they're good at 23.7%. I hate saying safe, but he feels pretty safe, right?
Well, and this year he's bumped it up in a really big way in terms of those K rates, like 31.5% to lefties and 27.5% to righties.
Was I looking at so I was looking at the bigger sample of 2023 to the last 2 seasons, but it's kind of around that point where I start saying, okay, let's just look at this year and this year only. After 5 or 6 or 7 starts, that's kind of when I say, okay, let's drop last year. Let's just go with this year exclusively. Do you feel the same way about that? Or is that have you already moved on from last year's stuff? That's your quoting, and that's fine. But I tend to kind of lean to the situational.
Situational. If there's some really big difference, I'll sometimes try and dig into it a little bit and figure out why those reasons are. But especially with some younger guys, if they take some big strides earlier in the season, I like to jump on it a little bit earlier. The one reason that I would have for concern is just that, like, reading in Cheese's musings today, he doesn't think that bump is going to last all season because the swinging strikes haven't really changed. And so that's something to monitor as the season goes on. But I mean, while he's doing it, I'll try and jump on that train. We have enough likes for Spidey Bomb number 2. This guy was a Spidey Bomb on Saturday, but he let us down, and he is not going to be letting us down today. And so Spidey Bomb number 2 is another offense I like quite a bit today in the Mariners, and Jared Kelenic is going to be knocking one out of the park in that same game. Plus 460 odds on Fanduel. Like that one quite a bit. Jared Kelenic is Spidey Bomb number 2.
To your point, as far as Gilbert, this year the swinging strike rate 10.7% and almost a 30% K rate, which is a little bit. It's not a perfect science, but like staring at him like the way I do with swinging strike rate and K rate. Swinging strike rate's usually, or K rate, I guess, is usually like 2.2 times higher, 2.3 times higher, give or take. So that seems a little bit extreme as far as being lucky. It's almost 3 times the swinging strike rate, the K rate, that is. So yeah, maybe he's been a little bit lucky this year. But even 25% strikeouts are perfectly fine as well. Give me the summary as far as pitchers. I just tuned into the show, and I feel like we cover everybody that need to be covered. Taking a peek at the chat. If we miss somebody, feel free to throw them out there. But otherwise, we'll move on and start talking about stacks and sticks. Your summary as far as arms.
Nestor Cortez is the projections top play, but with him being at 50% ownership projected today, I'm going to hit the X button. I'm going to fade. And so Zach Gallen and Logan Gilbert are going to be the two guys that I'm most heavily overweight on. And then I'm going to be taking a shot on just multiple other guys as well in like 20-ish% range. I don't think anybody's really going to have that big of a day today. So I am okay with taking a shot on some cheap guys like Michaelis. Anthony Desclafani is probably going to be the mid-tier guy I'll be the most overweight on. I'm willing to take some Hunter Brown, Dylan Cease, and Marcus Stroman shots, but only in small quantities. And if you're running 150 lineups, I honestly don't even think it's like that ridiculous to just like throw out JP Sears out there and hope for a strikeout game against a chalky New York, or even just like think the White Sox are terrible. What if no one scores more than 20 points on this slate and Zach Greinke goes 6 innings today without giving up a run against the terrible White Sox?
Yeah.
Sure. Like, it's just that kind of pitching slate for me today.
I'll tell you something about Greinke, the last start, which I thought was kind of telling. Was he 40 at this point? How old is Zach Greinke? He was, like, spectacular. I don't know if you saw this. He wasn't injured to my knowledge. He threw 5 clean innings, 3 hits, no walks, nothing. But they pulled him. You know how many pitches he had thrown? Just because he threw 5 innings, I assume that's the reason why. And he did throw 6 earlier in the year a couple times. So I don't really know what the reason was, but it was just strange to me. And again, to my knowledge, he was not injured in any way. He threw 44 pitches, TJ. 44 perfect pitches, essentially. And they said, that's good. You can go take a shower. You're fine. There's no upside, is the point on Greinke. Just none.
Agreed.
That's the best you can get. 20 points. Did he get the W? He did get the W as well, but I hear what you're saying, just because he's super cheap and the opportunity cost and yada yada. But
I'm not even saying play him. I'm saying I think it's not the stupidest thing to have 3 to 5% of him if you're running 150 lineups, just in case nobody scores over 20 points today, and the expensive bats go off. But like, don't play him in a single entry. That would be stupid. I don't even think you need to play. Like, you don't need to play him in 150 either. I'm just saying, like, this is the type of slate where I think you can just take shots on any random cheap pitcher in a 150 setting, and it's reasonable.
What is your setting today as far as salary? How much salary are you willing to have left over? Where do you stretch that bar to?
Doesn't matter to me as long as my team correlates and it's in a stack. Like, I would never leave a bunch of salary on the table with a team of one-offs, but if my team is stacked together, I don't really care if it's 300 or 3,000.
Okay, so you don't put a rule in though. You don't say like must spend at least like 32,000 or 35,000 on FanDuel.
I'll set the rule in lineup HQ when I'm MMEing that I just kind of bump it up to 49 and 50 all the time on these slates when I'm running lots of stuff, and then I'll just see what I get. But when I'm adjusting and kind of like when I'm hand adjusting to get stacks in there, I don't really care.
Yeah, I usually won't go that high, 49.50. If I'm messing around with it, I usually go to around 4,900 or so. Leave 1,000, but I hear what you're saying. And then you say you go back.
For me, it's more just a matter of like, it helps me get the amount of pitchers I want in different price tiers. Yeah,
that makes sense. If you don't want to mess with the likes of Zach Greinke or even salary for that matter, check out Stat Hero. Stat Hero, if you're not aware, Stat Hero, it's a unique fantasy sports platform. You already know. You love it. We talk about it all the time here. It allows users to compete against the house instead of other players in a contest. You're not playing against Kirkwood or Devin in the chat or Alex in the chat or even TJ and all his Spidey bombs. The Searing 12 contest that they ran, that is over, but the Searing 15 contest for the NBA playoffs and the Searing 20 contest for MLB Pick'em, they're just getting started. They're free to play contest, win, and start your streak now. Keep your streak alive by playing each and every day. Build your streak and win prizes with consecutive wins, including swag, RotoGrinders premium, and cash prizes. $10,000 first prize for the Searing 15, $20,000 first prize for the Searing 20. Use the promo code GRINDERS, that's GRINDERS, GRINDERS, 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Jump into the action today at Stat Hero. TJ, have you been hooked up? How much does it cost to mail some swag out your way? I assume at this point you've got some RG swag, right? I know you didn't show up to the big party. You were unavailable. That's usually where like the likes of Britt will steal like 20 shirts, just hoards them like crazy. Seriously, call him on this next time you do your show on the weekend. That you wonder why he's always wearing an RG shirt. That's all he has. But yeah, have you been hooked up? Is anybody taking care of you as far as any shirts and any swag of any sorts?
I have 0 RG things in my house. I've wanted to. I've been hoping for more for years, but yeah, I got 0 things, and which is why you'll always see me wearing my Agents of Fandom clothing on streams.
Well, we gotta rectify that. Somebody's got to make it happen. We got to get you some swag out there. Do you want it or you not want it? Is that maybe you just don't want to do it?
Oh, I want it. I want it bad.
Yeah. Well, then what's the problem? Let's make this happen. Yeah. We'll have to put a call in. Producer Devin's listening. I'm not sure who's in charge. You can nudge somebody. I'm sure. We can't. Yeah, Alex in chat just saying post in Slack and they'll take care of it. You know, you've been around long enough. You still can't take shots at Head Chopper. You know, but you can get yourself some swag.
That was the most that I can't believe that both you and Chop, some seasoned vets here at RG, fell into Kirk Dees' trap of wildly over amplifying the things I said to make it look like I was taking big shots at Head Chopper. I was trying to laugh at his joke, talking about how he needs to ease up on the dairy and the things he's eating before an active night. And Kirk Dees just turned you guys on me, and so I had to play the role of the villain for the rest of the show. But I can't believe he let you guys led you astray like that, and you didn't even think twice.
Who would think Kirk would stir the straw like that? I thought you were just an ageist. I thought that's what was going on there. By the way, somebody in chat wants to make a trade. They want to trade their used RG shirt for an AOF hoodie. Is that available? Agents of Fandom, USF hoodies? That's what you're wearing right now, isn't it?
That's exactly what I'm wearing right now is an Agents of Fandom hoodie. You can find them up on our website. Yeah, let's do it. Let's make the trade. I need me some RG gear. Let's do it.
We can get you a non-used shirt. Again, we can make that happen. I know a guy. But all right, let's talk about today's stacks. If we're looking at the consensus ranking for stats, you got to put a number on it. No matter how good they look, no matter how bad they look, no matter how kind of middle of the road they look, you're going to have a consensus ranking. And 3 of 4 of us, right? Keith will be on in a bit. Head Chopper, speaking of Head Chopper, made his rankings. The Luch as well, myself as well. We put the Giants first, which is somewhat concerning. The Giants are number 1. The Yankees are number 2. Then Arizona, then Seattle, then the White Sox, which nobody wants to play the White Sox, but, they're kind of cheap, right? And the matchup's good. Oakland, a little bit of Oakland love, a little bit of Houston love, a little bit of Dodger love. I guess I was the only one to rank the Dodgers. I might move that because I think they take a hit with Smith being out. I don't really want to pick on Peralta, but I just don't love this slate when it comes to stacks. Do you agree with that list? Do you disagree? Is there something you would move up or move down? San Fran 1, Yankees 2, Arizona 3, Seattle, White Sox, Oakland, Houston, Dodgers.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. The teams that I'm bumping up would be so for me, Seattle is kind of the team that I think I would like best. That's not that others aren't maybe super high on. I really like getting to Kansas City in tournaments going up against Dylan Cease today. I think that's a very interesting idea too. But San Fran and the Dodgers are going to be my 2 highest owned. The Yankees will be like the chalkiest team that I'm on, and I'm trying to just basically get even to, but maybe will be a bit underweight because they're kind of the one that is looking like they might be picking up some ownership today. Arizona's fine. Milwaukee, the Angels, Texas, it's fine. Houston, I want to get more of, and I'm not getting much right now. But I think my big 3 tonight is going to be the Dodgers, Seattle, and the Giants.
Houston lineup not up just yet. Patrick Sandoval, 2 lefties on the Houston side, they're 2 best hitters. So it weakens them a little bit. Sandoval's not a split, right? He's not a reverse splits guy, I'm pretty sure. Do you want to confirm that? Yeah, he's got a large standard split. So not that you can't play Yordan Alvarez, not that you can't play Kyle Tucker, but it's not necessarily the best spot to roster him. Still waiting on a Houston lineup, still waiting on Texas, waiting on the Marlins, Arizona, Washington, the Giants. Anybody else we've missed? I'm not sure. Just going to Twitter to see if anything's kind of popped up as far as our lineups. Where are we at as far as Spidey bombs and likes? So we have 1 on layaway, 1 in the chamber. We knocked out 2 or 3. How many we knocked out so far? I believe 2.
We've knocked out 2. We got 2 more in the chamber, so we got to bump these likes way up. We got 122 right now. Next Spidey bomb coming at 150. Should be easy. We got almost 500 people watching. If the like button's not there for you, you just got to hit that refresh and then it'll come up.
So the biggest conundrum for me on this slate as far as the offense is the Yankees. Sears, I don't think is horrendous, right? He's a bit of a prospect. So theoretically, he's going to be good at some point. He's been up and down. That bullpen, we've already talked about it, worst bullpen in baseball by far. Now, like, I almost kind of like Oakland at home because you're guaranteed you're locked in that ninth inning, right? If the Yankees win this game 7-2, you lose the last 3 outs. So it's kind of a push-pull. Like, it's an upgrade as far as the actual environment of hitting baseballs, but you do lose the 9th inning, which could be precious, especially if the game's out of hand and you get, like, the shortstop throwing baseballs in the 9th inning. The other part of it is the Yankees, these are not like your friend of 3 weeks ago's Yankees. It's a terrible Yankee lineup. Volpe, Torres, Rizzo, LeMahieu. Bader's come up and smashed in a small sample, and good for him. IKF, Cabrera, Trevino, Hicks, who's awful. Like, what do we do with this team? Because they're not really good. You just sort of trust the process of, like, anybody that swings a piece of wood against this Oakland team. They're professionally trained. Theoretically, they're going to get the job done, especially when they're super popular. I don't know how to feel about the Yankees. Where are you at as far as the Yankees? I think I want to have less in the field if they're going to be popular, and I believe they are, despite the fact they're not very good. But the context of the slate is sort of pushing us onto the Yankees.
That's kind of where I'm at, too. I would like them if they were going to be lower owned, but they're going to be the highest owned team on the slate, and so I'm probably going to be underweight on the Yankees today. Guys like Torres, Rizzo, yes, they're still phenomenal plays, and I don't hate the idea of just like getting even with the field on those guys, but then just maybe not necessarily going with the full stack.
I'm seeing some questions in chat. I'm trying to. My apologies if I missed some. Feel free if you don't have your question answered or asked, I guess, Ob. Please ask it again. We got 15, almost 20 minutes until we hand it off to the Crunch Time crew. You got myself and TJ talking whenever y'all want. Straight up the Crunch Time crew. You got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. You have Keith Eyster, as well as TastefulTides Tim. Do we cover this? Sean wants to know, why aren't we talking more about Cease? Massive ceiling, great leverage. Yeah, I mean, when he's on, he's got good ceiling. He's kind of sort of like in that Snell mode, I suppose. But I think you basically were crossing Cease out. Is that correct?
No, I still have Cease just because there is that upside and he has low ownership. If he was higher owned today, I would just hit that X button completely, but I'm not getting very much of him. I'm only getting a 15-20% of him because he's been terrible this year. He's got almost a 5x bit. He's getting hit hard. He's walking everybody, over a 10% walk rate to both sides of the plate, giving up almost a 60% hard hit rate to righties this year. Like, Witten, Perez might knock him out of, like, might take him for home runs in the very first inning. And so there's high upside, but I feel like there's a lot of downside as well. And so if you want to take that shots in tournaments, I don't blame you, because not very many people are playing him today. If he was higher owned, I'd say no, just hit that X button. That's what I did last time he was playing. But the fact that not many people are getting to him today, I do think it's somewhat reasonable for tournaments. And in 150 lineups, I'm getting 15%.
Daryl's asking about John Gray. With the Mariners having the 3rd lowest batting average and 3rd highest strikeout rate, would pitcher John Gray be considered for a 25-point pitcher on Fanduel? Obviously, the pitching points over there are easier to obtain on Fanduel. I don't know, is 25 even good on Fanduel? It's not great. You want more than that, but the opportunity cost is not terrible.
I wonder if that could potentially be like maybe a bet on there too, like an over fantasy point.
Okay.
But regardless, I'm staying as far away from John Gray as I can. He hasn't been striking anybody out this year from the right side of the plate, from the left side of the plate. He's just been really, really bad. To lefties, he's giving up an insane amount of hard hit rates, and he's walking guys, only striking out 11%. To righties, his strikeout rate this year is all the way down to 18%, so he just isn't striking anybody out. Until he kind of proves he's not broken for right now, I'm going to be staying off of him completely.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm not playing any John Gray. I've not considered like his fantasy point. Like you said, if it's a bet, I could not give good advice on that. But we do have tools for that on the site. On RotoGrinders for such things. We have like specific projections, median projections, and you can bet things accordingly. But he's not somebody that I'm considering to roster on FanDuel or DraftKings or anywhere for that matter. More so on the Seattle offense than I am on John Gray. Like you said, 14.5% Ks is bad, 10.7% walks. That's terrible too. And the power, especially power to the left-hand side. 407 WOBA, but 237 ISO, just really, really scary. It's a no-go for me. Would you pick
150 likes Dean? That means it's time for Spidey Bomb number 3. Let's get this. We got almost 500 people watching. Let's get this up to 200 before the Crunch Time crew gets here so I can unveil my 4th Spidey Bomb. But Spidey Bomb number 3 today, we're picking on Nestor Cortez and Jesus Aguilar at plus 500 over at Caesars, and a GPP play that I just adore today. Jesus Aguilar is Spidey Bomb number 3.
Cam the Man wants to know, do you guys like Arizona or the Yankees more today?
I don't love either. I like both, and I'm getting to both at about 10% of stacks today. So I'd say if you're going with non-chalky pitchers, if you're going with contrarian pitchers, go Yankees. If you're going with chalky pitchers, go Arizona.
And no Arizona lineup just yet. We're projecting it to be Marte, Rivera, Gurriel, Walker. I like Walker a good bit. Braxton Garrett, historically a pretty competent pitcher, got his face fully punched in. I don't know if you saw 11 runs last time out. That's a lot. Carroll projected the bat in the 6 hole with left on left. Ahmed Marino and Alec Thomas is our projections for that Arizona lineup. Let's see. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to catch up on some of the questions here. Did you give a take as far as Hunter Brown? Antonio wants to know about Hunter Brown, and I like the arm. A little bit concerned about the walks of late. Don't love the matchup. It's kind of a just check back in 5 day situation for me. Where are you at as far as Hunter Brown?
If I was playing less lineups, it'd be that exact same situation for me too, because I'm running a few more today. I'm thinking I'll take some shots on him in case that upside is there for him today, but I'm not going to try and force it. I only got about 10%. All
right. Start loading up those questions there in chat. Can pretty much use any two starting pitchers for cash today. I don't understand. Maybe I'm catching the middle of a conversation, but I'm going to be playing cash today on DK a little bit, and for sure I'm going to have Gallen, and it's going to be Gallen paired with probably Gilbert. I guess there's a chance it's Cortez, but more likely it's going to be Gallen and Gilbert. I don't think projections back that up for what it's worth, but you know, sometimes I look at the bat, and I look at the projections here at RG, and I'm like, I appreciate your thoughts, but I'm going to go a little bit differently. Mark's going to play a little JP Sears. Go ahead.
I'd either be doing Gallen Gilbert or maybe even Gallen Michaelis.
Roberts, do you like Roberts or Sheets for tournaments? The Chicago side, Derek wants to know Luis Robert or Gavin Sheets.
Definitely Luis Robert.
Let's see. Spidey Bomb counts. Yes, they're asking this who they are. Strata, Kelnick, and is it not Aguilar? I thought it was Aguilar. It's not pronounced that way.
Is it Aguilar?
I mean, I thought for sure it was Aguilar.
I thought it was, but I mean, no. Somebody was telling me before it's only a double L that they do the E sound. Otherwise, it's the L. But in MLB The Show, I could have sworn they say Aguilar.
Okay. Let's see. Punting second base on Fanduel. Which 2.2 would you play? Man, second base is a horrific position. It is bad once again today. I'm just going over to our lineups page, and I'm scrolling down to 2.2 and see what we have left as far as our options. This is our actual options, and you're going to be picking amongst this nonsense. IKF is 2-1. Hicks is – oh, wait, no, I got to hit second base. It's probably not much to pick from here. Michael Bush, he's got some power. Rojas, he can make contact. Massey, Hanser Alberto versus Greinke. Caballero. It's not, nobody else is even projected to be available. Amongst that nonsense, I don't know, man. Probably Alberto against Greinke, but do you have a lean amongst that great collection of hitters?
Yeah, I guess probably the same.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to love there. You know, assume you like the rest of your lineup, and this is the person that kind of makes everything else work for you. But Robert's got those Costco burnt ends in the oven. All right, that sounds nice. I think Kirkwood's touting Costco in the chat, and this is where I ask: you have Costco in Canada? I'm pretty sure you do, right? I think it's a thing there. There you go. Yeah. Let's see. We still have 15 minutes to go before we yield to crunch time. Do you want to play the stack game? You want to put some numbers on these your stacks? 5, you absolutely love it. 3, you're kind of in the middle. Maybe some follow-up questions. 1, for sure, you definitely don't like it. We've not talked about any hitters in that St. Louis-Chicago game. two professional pitchers in the mound, but not pitchers that you're necessarily running away from. Ground ball guy in Stroman. St. Louis, again, we like him versus lefties. We like him in a better ballpark environment. Weather Edge is not like the ballpark today. 7 is the total. Pretty low total there. Again, not conducive for smacking out homers. Are you basically ignoring that St. Louis-Chicago game? I know you're playing a ton of lineups. What do you do with the Cubbies and the Cards?
I have the tiniest amount of Chicago, and I have no Cardinals today.
None. Okay. Not even like a one-off.
0.
Yesterday, one-off Goldie. That's what you needed. But, yeah, different day.
Yeah, but today it's Marcus Stroman and the wind blowing in.
Anthony says, what teams do you like to score a lot of runs tonight? My answer is like none. I don't think any teams are going to – I mean, one will just because baseball happens, but I don't think you're looking at a situation saying, well, yeah, this team is well-positioned to put up like 10. Tell me if you feel otherwise. Most likely to do it, San Fran and the Yankees, right? But I don't know – I don't feel confident saying any team. What's your answer?
San Fran, the Dodgers, and the Mariners, I think, are going to be the 3 teams to go big.
Yeah. Eric wants to know if we like Disco Stew and Gallon for cash. I have not built my cash lineup, to be clear. I think Disco Stew's fine, but I feel like I can get Gilbert without issue because I'm not really prioritizing a lot of bats, certainly not any expensive bats that I absolutely need. Your thought there? That's Discofani, if people are not aware. Discofani and Gallon is a pairing.
I'd be trying to get up to Gilbert for cash. For me in cash, it's either up to Gilbert or down to Michaelis. But I mean, if you just land on Discofani and you love the rest of your team, sure.
How do you feel? Oh, wait, Goldie, here's a little bit of BBP. Chop's not in chat, but allegedly, according to Eric in chat, Goldie 8 for 18 with 3 homers versus Stroman in his career. How about that? I know you're a big BBP guy. Or wait, you're not.
How many of them are with the wind blowing in?
I couldn't. They were probably when he was in Arizona. I don't know when it happened. Yeah. Couldn't tell you. It was when Stroman was on the Blue Jays, possibly. But anyways.
I wish he still was.
You guys can use you can always use pitching, I suppose. So let's play this. My Toronto fans are very depressed with my Panthers are putting a hurt on them. I wish I can talk them to you, but you're the only Canadian that doesn't care about hockey. And I guess you wouldn't care about.
And I mean, I'm an Oilers fan too, so
they're still alive, right? Draisaitl's like scoring like 3 goals a game essentially. He's incredible. The other guy's pretty good too. I can't think of it. Connor McDavid, yeah, also really good at hockey. All right, so let's say the White Sox. 1 through 5. Where would you put the White Sox? 1, you hate them. 5, you love them. 3, you're kind of wishy-washy. They're facing Zach Greinke.
2.
Oh, is this true? Steven in chat saying that Brantley and McCormick are coming back for Houston. I didn't know that. I missed that.
I knew McCormick. I didn't know. Like, we're projected McCormick in the lineup, but not Brantley.
Yeah, I know Will loves himself some Brantley. He's always doubting Brantley for, I think it's for like prize picks, like hit stuff. I think like points. He's a good singles guy, right? I like homers, but that's just me. What do you think of the Astros 1 through 5?
3. I like the Astros today.
Kind of wishy-washy, non-committal, but 3.
3.5.
Get some
3.5.
just because you can. I'm not trying to manipulate, man. Once you lock in your number,
they're my 6th highest owned stack as it stands, and this is the build that I have liked the best of everything that I've done so far, because this has finally allowed me to get more of all the other teams in this slate that I wanted, and the team that is being sacrificed is the Yankees. I'm still gonna get like 15-ish% of Rizzo, Bader, and Torres. And then I'm just getting far less of everybody else.
Are you going to be able to get your lineups in time? I saw on the previous show, like you keep, you're not submitting it fast enough. Like you keep getting locked out. What's going on here? You haven't figured out the proper pace to when to submit your lineups?
It's those few days. I think my brain was just moving a little bit slower with the sickness. And so it was just literally like, oh God, it's almost locked both days in a row. And I lost focus.
Rangers lineup just came out. Semyon Grossman jumps up to the 2 spot, which was not projected for us. He was projected lower. Jankowski did not crack the lineup. Semyon, Grossman, Lau, Garcia, Young, So 2 catchers. Heim is DHing, Duran, Tavares, and Sandy Leon is doing the actual catching there for Texas. Still waiting for more lineups to trickle in on through. Your official number in the Giants?
5.
Yeah, is this what the field's going to be? The field's going to be playing the Giants a ton? I guess that's what's happening, right? I hate being on chalky Giants, but I think that's where we're at. Thank you, Izzy. Oilers are up 2-1. LeMahieu or Torres in your Yankee stacks? Or it didn't say stack, but like maybe a la carte. Your take as far as DJ LeMahieu versus Torres? I would take Torres as well. Eric, thoughts as far as Muncy? Sure. Yeah, like, of course. He's just expensive. I'm not really prioritizing him, but I like him for tournaments, right? We're good with Muncy?
We are very good with Muncy. He is my second highest home third baseman.
You watching the basketball? They're talking about the Lakers, Golden State, of course, the appetizer game, my Miami Heat versus the New York Knicks. That series is not nearly as interesting, I don't think, even for any. I'm a Heat fan, and I'm more excited about watching the Lakers and Golden State. You been following this? You have any take? Lakers currently up 2-1 versus the Lakers versus the Warriors, that is. Game 4 tonight versus the Warriors. Do you care about such things at this point?
I'm just kind of enjoying. I don't really care. I'll watch, and think maybe cheering for Golden State just by a little bit. But it doesn't really matter to me all that much which of the team wins. There was a point in chat, though, somebody was asking, like, Giants Giants pinch hits so much make it a pain to deal with. Well, there's no left-handed pitchers in the Washington bullpen. So that's kind of the reason why we like San Fran today, is because we probably shouldn't be having to deal with those pinch hit risks and stuff like that. 29 likes away from Spidey Bomb at number 4, and we got over 500 people watching now. So let's hit that like button and get the 4th Spidey Bomb.
Steven says, random question, what's up with Ty France? He's goose egged me a lot this season. I just pulled up his advanced metrics. He's not hitting the ball very hard. 18% hard hit percentile, average exit velocity 16%, barrel rate 23%. I don't think
he's that good.
He's also striking out 92% of the time, the 92nd percentile. So
92% of the time.
Yeah, I know that'd be terrible. That's like my stats basically. But he's been striking out a lot, and when he's not striking out, he's not hitting the ball hard. So I'm not saying you can't play him, but if you're like, is he in good form or bad form? It's not that he's been unlucky, is the point. He's just not hitting the ball very well. His WOBA is 330. Let's see. His WOBA is 324. His xWOBA is 327. So it's not like he's been like unlucky. It's just he's not playing well. Can you roster him tonight? Sure, but understand that's what's going on. Joseph wants to know Wade versus Rizzo. Yeah, well, it's a real question, and I think I prefer Wade. Rizzo. I assume he's going to lead off today for San Fran.
Rizzo.
It's
Rizzo.
Okay.
It's Anthony Rizzo. Like, I'm not saying you are wrong. It's Anthony Rizzo to answer this question. I'm like, for me, like, when both teams are in reasonably equal spots and your question is between Lamont Wade or Anthony Rizzo, it's just always Anthony Rizzo.
I don't think it's always. Maybe we can have a little bit of a wager, some loonies and some toonies. Let's make this interesting. Why not? It's already a boring enough slate as is. Let's all of a sudden give it some flavor. I'll take Wade over Rizzo today.
Sure.
No?
It's a fully reasonable question. It's a fully reasonable question. Yeah. Like, they're both good plays, but like, for me, it's Rizzo.
Yeah. I would just say, like, don't leave Rizzo out of your Yankee stacks. Like, if you're a lot of people like run away from left on left, that kind of thing. And Sears, according to the bat at least, JP Sears has a really huge split, meaning he's much more vulnerable to righties than he is versus lefties. But, the bullpen's terrible in Oakland, and he can get it off the bullpen, and he certainly can hit it off Sears. And historically, Rizzo is a good lefty hitter versus left-handers, and we know about that pull, the distance down the right-hand line, right field line. It's kind of, you get yourself some cheap homers. You see, like, there's a Twitter account that talks about like barrels and lucky hits, and you always see like those lucky hit, home run. You ever see those before? Sometimes those happen in Yankee Stadium, like just those pop-ups down the line. All right. Is Turd Ferguson on tonight? No, I don't believe so. Not to my knowledge. That's Grant. As far as I know, he's not going to be on. I know that Roth was not feeling spectacular, so maybe he's unavailable. But to my knowledge, it's going to be Roth. Michael's saying I'm wrong again. I guess he's saying I'm wrong as far as Wade versus Rizzo. Well, nobody knows who's wrong yet. You can point to the scoreboard later on tonight. Mr. Richard says underweight on the Yankees. That's where you're at, and I think that's where I'm going to be too. It's uncomfortable, but I think that's where I'm going to be. Yes?
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. 15 likes away from Spidey Bomb number 4.
Yeah, let's knock that out. Hit the like button. We have give the people the summary. Who are the 3 Spidey Bombs so far?
Jared Kelenic, Tyro Estrada, and who was the third one again, Dean? We just gave it up. I just said it.
Aguilar.
And Jesus Aguilar. Aguilar.
K-Town's minus New York and Oakland for DK Torney plus Spidey Bomb's thoughts. People love that game stack. You know, they just like to watch one game and that's that. And maybe it just happened organically. I suppose you can make arguments on both sides. But how do you feel about that game stack there in New York, Oakland with the Yankees, and then, work in some of your Spidey Bombs?
I mean, it's pretty nice weather, so I don't hate the idea of that. But I like the Oakland side for tournaments a little bit more than the Yankee side, since the Yankees will be the chalkiest stack on the slate.
Favorite overall hitter on this slate? I'm pulling up our expert survey. I was reading it earlier. Who would be your favorite overall hitter? I know you're making a bunch of lineups. You're getting, shares of pretty much everybody. You mentioned the Dodgers. I assume that means you're talking about guys like Betts and Muncy, but you have like a favorite overall hitter. Who do you have the most ownership of right now, currently, as far as
it's Estrada?
Yeah,
Estrada's the guy I have the most,
35?
followed by 30, followed by Peterson, Kelenic, Betts, and the final Spidey Bomb.
Yeah, man,
like 4 likes away from. 4 more people are going to hit this like button, so I'll dish it out right now. Plus 400 odds over on FanDuel, and one of my highest owned players today is going to be my highest owned first baseman. It's Christian Walker.
Yeah, I like Walker a good bit as well. How do you feel about that Arizona stack in general? I assume you like it a good bit.
I like a mini stack more than the full stack. Like, I like getting me some Walker and Marte more than stacking up the whole team.
No official lineup just yet, but yeah, Marte. Rivera is kind of annoying if he bats in the 2-hole because he's a decent chance for a pinch hit, as is Longo if he cracks the lineup. So, I'm just overly paranoid on things like that, but I would just be a little bit cautious on Rivera. I think I saw Rivera hitting some optimals, and it's like there's a chance. We're not even sure he's playing, but we're assuming he's playing. There's a decent chance he also, if the right situation calls for it, he gets kicked out of the game. Same deal with Longoria, who probably starts, who may not finish the game. Let's see. Jeffrey, what about the White Sox stack for single entry GPP? I mean, how many days in a row has it been since the White Sox stack has not worked? They've obviously gotten weakened with what's the guy's name? Had the appendectomy.
Jimenez.
Is it Eloy Jimenez? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a revenge game for Benintendi. Good for him. Vaughn's got some power. Robert and Cheats, sure, but I'm not really a fan of Grandal these days. The back half of that lineup is rough. Like, second base is terrible, so sure you can play Alberto. I'm not gonna run to the White Sox. I might get them for like mini stacks or like one-offs just because they're cheap and it's Greinke. But your general thoughts, single entry for the White Sox? It's not for me.
No, I'm not. Not for me either.
The White Sox scored 17 runs yesterday. Did I miss that? My bad. That doesn't mean anything to me, but I guess I'm wrong. Did they win tournaments yesterday, the White Sox? Or no? Or was it like on a different slate? When did that game?
Wow, 17 runs for the White Sox. Yeah, that was in the afternoon slate, though, I think.
Okay. Was that like against...
They lit up Graham Ashcraft.
It was against Cincinnati, and I remember thinking it was interesting. Cincinnati had like 4 or 5 home runs. They lost by 13, which you don't see very often. Yeah, they were in Cincy. I think that was a later game too, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was on a different slate. Yeah, it was in the small slate. That's why I must have ignored it. We have Tim, Tasteful Tides. We have Keith Eyster, and we have chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. Roth, currently, how you feeling, by the way? Thanks for jumping on. I saw. Oh, that's not looking good.
Horrible. Man.
You're a gamer though, man. Look at this. Is your Jordan flu game, as you called it, I believe?
Yeah. I'm bouncing back, but like there's just so much vomit with like 2 parents and 2 kids. There's just vomit just everywhere, the beds, and it's just awful. So it's been a rough 24 hours, Sam.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm happy to see you.
Like I just cannot express to you how much puke it is. Like you can't wrap your mind around it. It's an incredible amount. That's all.
Is it a contagious thing where like if one person does, and all of a sudden there's a domino effect?
Nah, not really, because we're all just like nauseous, and so not so much. Anyways, it's horrible, but I'm here, and I get like 45 minutes of hopefully no vomit, unless it's me. We'll see.
I mean, the ratings the like might go up. I don't know if it's worth like 100 likes for you to vomit on screen. I don't know what the going rate is, but we're not rooting for that. We want you to power through. We do appreciate you. You jump on, and there, producer Steve that's what I was thinking about.
That's my house right now. Like that's my bedroom.
I was thinking of that scene from Family Guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Keith, your Cubbies called up Christopher Morel. They just want him to like sit on the bench and root the guys on. What's the story there? Is he not in the building, or why is he not starting baseball today?
Well, I think part of the reason that it's taken this long, I mean, dude has been absolutely destroying AAA ever since opening day, but there's just nowhere to play him that makes a ton of sense. That's why I was clamoring for Mervis, because it was a very easy slot him into first base DH, and he can play every single day. With Morel, every other position is kind of filled. I'm glad that they're finally working towards getting their best 26 men on the roster. So it's exciting to see him up. But I think he's going to move around a bunch every single day and just kind of give guys days off here and there. But don't look now. That Cubbies lineup it's kind of deep. And with the Cardinals struggles, it's exciting times. Sorry to see Justin STL Cards constantly tilting the Cardinals on Twitter. I just really hate to see it.
I love to see it. His Twitter account has never been so fun. Every single day he's just tweeting through it, man. And I think he said he started a bet the other side, so he's got that emotional head. So at least he's making some American dollars out of it. But yeah, it's been rough times for the Cardinals. And well, speaking of that, as far as your Cubbies, like Wisdom was benched, I think all weekend. He's not hurt, right? Just there's too many guys. Is that the problem?
Yeah, I mean, when you have to mix Eric Hosmer into the mix, still, you just can't start the guy every single day.
You gotta play Hosmer.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Well, you got to see what you have in Eric Hosmer.
Notice I said working towards our best 26. Eric Hosmer is not part of that 26.
Yeah, I mean, you got Bellinger, you got Happ, you have Suzuki, so your outfield's pretty good. Yeah, and DH, I guess, is Mancini with Mervis taking first base. Is that how that generally is going to go? Yeah. Well, yeah, good for you. Good for the Cubs. I hope they turn it around. They're a fun team to watch this year. Baltimore, we're seeing it. Like, teams can turn things around. Baltimore looking really, really fun this year, taking on Tampa. Not in the main slate, but they are on a slate. 6:30, I believe they're starting. And then we have Tim. Tim, you don't have a baseball team, so there's nothing to complain about, I guess. You can find something to complain about. Tim doesn't like fun. Did you guys know this? Doesn't like fun. This is a general thought.
So I happen to hear his take on a 0-0 baseball game, a pitcher's duel, and I am 100% in agreement that is awesome entertainment.
Thank you.
What?
Awesome entertainment.
Roth, you want to go to a baseball game? It's a 0-0 game in the ninth?
No, absolutely not. I'd be livid.
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Almost makes you want to throw up. It's just, terrible, terrible baseball. Do you like every time you come on, Tim, I have a new thing. Do you like go-karts? Are go-karts fun?
I haven't been on a go-kart for I bet 30 years.
But in your head, nostalgia-wise, you think, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that.
Not really. Nah.
All right. I tried. Going to the movies? TJ likes the movies. TJ, he went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy. Would you want to do that? See the movies?
See, now, so Dave Potts, Jesus Good, said that he likes to go to the movies alone. I also really like to go to the movies alone. That's one of my favorite things to do also. Like when Cheese was talking about going to the movies on Tuesday at 11 a.m., I was like, yes, I'm into that. Sounds awesome.
Get your own theater, prop your feet up, and just enjoy yourself, have a good time. All right. One of these days I'm going to hit on something fun, though. But I want every single time you come on, you join the show, I'm going to have a new potentially fun things I'm allegedly told are fun, and see if you check that box or you don't. TJ, we got anything else with the boys before we step aside and make way for the start of the Fanduel sponsored Crunch Time?
No, they got it. Let's get out of here.
All right, that was TJ. I was Dean. TJ knocked out 4 Spidey bums. Do you want to summarize that for him? Do you remember what they were?
Yeah, shout out to the chat because we got over 200 likes before the Crunch Time crew even popped on today. They were popping, and so 4 Spidey bombs today. Jared Kelnick, Thyro Estrada, I always forget the third one, Jesus Aguilar, and Christian Walker.
Alrighty, that was TJ. I was Dean. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. You got Tim, and you have Keith, and you have Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. The start of the Fanduel sponsor Crunch Time. It starts now. Roth, take it away.
Let's do it. Good stuff as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is indeed Crunch Time, and as Dean mentioned, it is sponsored by Fanduel. That's why the show is free. All we ask is that you hit us with that thumbs up. We want to keep this show free. We want to get a lot of eyeballs on it, so please hit us with a little like and subscribe, and we'll try to keep the show full free as long as possible. Joined by 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got 1, the Ice Man, a.k.a. Keith Eyster. What up, Ice?
Not too much. Fun little slate here today. I think it's completely wide open. So if you don't like what Tim and I are saying today, I think you are free to do whatever you want in this slate. It is wide open from a pitching standpoint. It's wide open from a stacks standpoint. So if you have conviction on something that we're not talking about, by all means, it doesn't mean you can't play it.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'm interested to see how much in agreement you guys are. Maybe you're on the same place. Maybe you're completely elsewhere. So that'll be interesting. We got Tim as well, a.k.a. TastefulTides. Tim, how are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm glad Keith said that because I think this slate kind of stinks. It's just not – it's kind of a jumbled mess. There's a lot of different offenses that are kind of have similar, I guess, team totals, you could say. And so there's some shaky kind of cheaper chalk also for bats. So, I mean – I don't know. It's not a slate that I have a lot of high conviction with. So, like he said, if there's a stack that you really like tonight, I say go for it.
Okay, very good. Well, Tim, since you kind of predominantly play cash and Ice, You're mostly a tournament guy. Tim, why don't you lead us off and kind of talk about what you're going to do with the cash build as far as pitchers go? And if you don't mind starting us off with FanDuel, that'd be great. By the way, sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you are in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions do apply. Tim, on FanDuel, you get 1 pitcher, although you can sprinkle it in if you have multiple lineups. So what are we doing over there on pitcher?
Yeah, FanDuel for cash games, due to the way that they have their pricing this evening, I think it's pretty clearly Nestor Cortez for your FanDuel cash game. He's 9,300. He comes in pretty high money line favorite. It's a pretty good matchup against Oakland. It's not like it's not like a guarantee. He's not like super safe, but I think that he is a better play for cash at least than Logan Gilbert, who's $200 more. And I want to pitch Zach Gallen on FanDuel, but he's 11,300, and so that's a $2,000 price gap. So for cash, that's just too much. I think that Cortez is definitely the cash game option on FanDuel. DraftKings, it's a little bit different because their pricings, the pricing on Gallen is a little bit closer to Cortez. You could still certainly pitch Cortez on DraftKings for cash, but I think I'm going to go Gilbert Gallen. I'm not sure. I might go Cortez Gallen, but I'm definitely pitching Gallen in cash games on DK. He's 10-2 on DraftKings. Gallen is my favorite pitcher on the slate. So I'm 100% pitching Gallen, but I haven't quite made up my mind whether or not I want to go Cortez Gilbert. I'm not 100%. I'm probably going to go Cortez cash.
Okay, very good. Let's talk some tournament plays here. And Tim, we'll get your takes if you have some different thoughts too, but I want to start with Ice. Kind of walk us through your tournament build. And then Tim, if there's any names he didn't mention, I'd like to hear those from you as well.
Yeah, so as Tim mentioned, Cortez is kind of the highest projected guy. He's projecting for the most ownership. But I think there are lots of good low-owned options today, so I'm going to end up underweight on Nestor Cortez. It's a good matchup against Oakland. It is a tough ballpark, and Oakland is better against left-handed pitching. They've actually been above average against left-handed pitching, so I have slight interest in Oakland bats as like a secondary stack. I will be under the field on Nestor Cortez. Logan Gilbert is an intriguing option. He's a reverse splits guy. He actually strikes out more lefties than righties, gives up less power to lefties as well. And Texas has quite a few lefties in there today. So I like this spot for Gilbert. I will also have secondary stacks of Texas, however. So underweight on the top two for me. Not that they're in bad spots. I think they're both very good pitchers, but there's just some really attractive ownership numbers for me. On FanDuel, Gallen and his price tag make it tougher to get up to. So he is coming in with considerably less ownership than those two. Dylan Cease, like coming into this season, people were really excited about Dylan Cease. He had over a 30% strikeout rate last season. And it's been a pretty tough go for him here recently. He's issuing more walks than he did last year, which it was already a problem last year. They're up over 10% this season. And the strikeouts have come down a little bit, down to about 26.5%. So it's been a struggle for Dylan Cease, but nobody is playing him today, at least according to ownership projections. And he has an outstanding matchup against Kansas City, who is one of the worst offenses in baseball. They strike out at about 25.5%. And I just mentioned Cease's biggest issue is walks. Kansas City doesn't walk all that much. They have I think their third lowest walk rate in baseball, around 7.4%. So his biggest concern is going to be mitigated a little bit today. So Dylan Cease is my favorite tournament pitcher. I love the price tag. I love the strikeout upside. There's some scary bats in that Kansas City lineup. Bobby Witt, obviously, Sal Perez, Melendez is having a decent year, but the bottom half of that lineup is really bad. Just not a ton of power threats down the order. So I have a ton of interest in Dylan Cease, even though he has struggled mightily over his last few starts. I think Freddie Peralta is in a very interesting spot today. He gets the Dodgers, which is never fun. But we're looking at 5% ownership on FanDuel here, a little bit higher owned on DraftKings. You have to pay up for him, and it's a matchup against the Dodgers, which is not ideal. But Will Smith is out of the lineup, which is a pretty big deal. Probably the best hitting catcher in baseball. A little bit watered down lineup for the Dodgers compared to what we're used to. And Freddie Peralta has as much strikeout upside as anybody on the slate. So I love taking some shots on him. I want to be significantly over the field. And when I'm saying over the field on these guys, I'm not talking like Dylan Cease projecting 7%. I'm going to play him at 10%. I'm talking like 20% Dylan Cease, 20% Freddie Peralta. I'm taking a pretty large stand on those two guys.
Nice.
And then Hunter Brown, the last guy that I want to mention, struggled his last time out with walks. Not a great matchup against the Angels, who don't strike out a ton. But this is a prospect with big time stuff. I like the strikeout upside, even though it's not a great strikeout matchup. And like I said, when we're talking about 25% ownership for Cortez, 20% ownership for Gilbert, and I'm getting these guys under 10%, I love all of those pitchers for tournaments, and I'll be significantly over the field on all of them. It's Cease, Peralta, and Brown for me as the main guys. Marcus Stroman I'll throw in as well. Wind in Wrigley today. Yep. St. Louis has struggled quite a bit on offense this season. They're still a scary offense, but Stroman does a good job of keeping the ball on the ground. I am slightly concerned about upside for Stroman. Not a good strikeout matchup, not a big strikeout pitcher, but I do think he can have a solid outing here.
Very good. And are those your pitchers both for FanDuel and DK, or are there some pricing discrepancies on DK where things change a bit?
Pretty much the same group. And for me, it is the same group. I do want to throw out the really cheap price on Miles Michaelis. I'm not going down there today just because I don't think there's any strikeout upside. The Cubs have been really good on offense this season. The weather is great. He can go deep into the game, but I'm very concerned about strikeouts, and he just hasn't been all that great this year. But if you're going cheap on DraftKings, Miles Michaelis does have a very good-looking price.
Very good. All right, Tim, any other names you want to throw in when you're just kind of thinking about tournaments and pitchers, or you feel like I just kind of covered all the legit plays?
I think I'm a little bit more bullish on Michaelis than it sounds like Keith is, but I certainly understand and get why you wouldn't want to have anything to do with him. But I think that given the weather, given the matchup and the price, I really don't mind getting to some exposure to him. I just on either site, even on FanDuel for tournaments, not for cash.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, you guys mentioned the weather in Chicago a few times. The temperature is around 50 degrees, which is pretty chilly. Winds are blowing in from left, just a little bit over 10 miles per hour, probably a little under it by the end of the game. In 69 similar weather games, nice, we have seen a 32% decrease in home runs and a 3% decrease to total runs. So it's not the worst weather ever in Chicago, but it's definitely a plus to the pitchers and not to the bats. Let's talk about some of the stacks here. And Ice, you can lead this one off. This is where you said, what if you don't agree with your take, just play whoever you want, kind of, a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no offenses that are jumping off the page. We have so many teams just in that 4 to 5 run team total. The Giants have the highest team total on the slate at 5.17 implied. So, I mean, like, we're not talking about 5.5, 6 totals from anybody. And there's a ton of teams just bunched around that 4.5 runs. There are some that I prefer over others, but like when we're talking about the best team on the slate versus the 8th or 9th team on the slate, there's not that big of a gap for me at all,
Gotcha.
Really, today.
Okay, well, why don't you walk through your faves? All
right, so ownership projections are showing the Yankees as really high owned, and that's unfortunate because they are probably my favorite offense today. JP Sears is not a terrible pitcher, but he is an extreme fly ball pitcher. He's making a massive ballpark jump, going from Oakland, which is one of the best pitchers parks in baseball, great for limiting home runs, into Yankee Stadium, which is a very good hitters park and great for home runs. So while Sears has had some success, above average K rate, above average walk rate, the fly balls are big time scary here for him today against the Yankees. It's also a watered down Yankees lineup and not a talented lineup, to be quite frank. But I love this spot for them. Also for the Yankees, they get the Oakland bullpen, presumably for several innings, which has been the worst in baseball this season. They have the absolute lowest strikeout in baseball and the absolute highest walk rate in baseball. So very interested on picking on the Oakland bullpen and the fly balls of JP Sears. The White Sox are going to grab quite a bit of ownership against Zach Greinke, who doesn't strike anybody out anymore. I'm going to be underweight on the White Sox. They're not a great offense. They lost Eloy Jimenez recently. They've been underperforming for almost 2 years now. So I'm gonna be slightly underweight on him. Greinke still manages contact fairly well. There's going to be a bunch of contact, but he does get a fair amount of soft contact. If I was looking to pivot off the Yankees, my favorite teams are going to be the Giants and the Diamondbacks. The Giants have a matchup against Jake Irvin, who has one major league start to his name. A lot of lefties that line up really well against them. And they were talking about it quite a bit on the last show that Washington does not have any left-handed relievers in their bullpen, which is a big deal for a team like the Giants, who like to platoon a ton. It significantly lowers the typically high pinch hit risk that the Giants have. So I like Giants a good amount. And then Diamondbacks against Braxton Garrett, who he does a decent job of keeping the ball on the ground. So I'm definitely targeting fly ball guys from the Diamondbacks. But his strikeouts are down this year. They're under 20%. And like, I just like how the righties, in particular, the fly ball righties, Ketel Marte and Christian Walker, who we'll talk more about in a second, set up against him. When I'm looking to go off the board, I mentioned Oakland bats. I really like a couple of Oakland power bats as a secondary stack. Cortez is going to be the highest owned guy on the slate. And we talked about that ballpark shift. What's bad for pitchers is good for hitters. So a nice big bump for the Oakland bats today. And then a couple of Rangers sprinkled in. I'm not really interested in stacking against Gilbert, but I don't mind trying to find a home run or two from the Rangers.
Okay, very good. Tim, are you kind of in agreement? Are you guys matching up here, or are you going a completely different direction?
I really like the White Sox tonight for tournaments. They're our top stack in our top stacks tool by a pretty healthy margin. I know that they're going to be highly owned, which is the only problem. And so it's kind of scary to play chalky White Sox because they're not a really good team. But this slate is just so kind of like blah, it's like, I don't know. It's just not a great slate. So I'm playing the White Sox in single entry, but I'm fading the Yankees. I'm hoping that like getting off some of that Yankees chalk will make my team somewhat different. I'm going to try to get to some Giants also as like a secondary option. We don't really have to worry about them getting pinch hit for tonight because they don't have any lefties in the bullpen that they're facing. So like all those lefties that usually get pinch hit for, we don't have to worry about that this evening. I would say I really like I really like Arizona, although I am not playing them in my primary team. I think they're in a really great spot. And then I think that the off the board play that's not like, like a standard play would be the Astros. They're starting to get a little bit healthier. Sandoval certainly is not a bad pitcher, but I really like that he's got a low K rate against lefties. He's not someone that I think we necessarily need to stay away from. And I think that the Astros are a very, very talented team. And I don't think that they're going to carry much ownership at all this evening. So they're a team that could definitely win you a GPP tonight. Also, I really like Seattle. I don't think that they're going to carry too much ownership either.
Very good. We did get a question. I don't know if you referenced it, but in the chat about the Astros. So you were already answering questions.
Yeah.
Good.
I really like them. If I was building, like 20, I might make like, I don't know, 3 or 4 stacks of them. I'm not saying you have to go like crazy with them, but I would like to get overweight the field with them.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. Gentlemen, let's do a little position by position, a little around the horn. They say in baseball, we like to start with some catcher talk, and Tim, you can lead us off. What do we have up right now? Oh, that's all players. So we'll switch it over to catcher and we'll see what we like.
Yeah. So catcher probably for cash games would be might be Trevino for the Yankees. Like if you're playing cash games, he's 2,900. It's either Trevino or Grandal, I would say, for 3,000. Catcher is really ugly. Sal Perez would be fine for tournaments. Cal Raleigh, the big dumper, is another great play for tournaments. But this is definitely a position. It's really bad. Like it's just part of your stacks type night. Unless you're playing cash games, and then it's Grandal or Trevino for me.
Okay, very good. Ice.
Yeah, not a great position. I'm just not into Yasmani Grandal anymore. He's getting up there in age. He's falling off a ton. Cal Raleigh, I don't mind as a tournament bat. Jose Trevino is my favorite play at the position. It's a great way to differentiate Yankee stacks. He's buried in the 8th hole, but he has good numbers against lefties. I think he sets up really well against Sears today. So he's my favorite tournament pivot. Don't mind Sal Perez, even though I'm playing a ton of Cease. Sal Perez is certainly a guy that could give him some issues. Yeah, I mean, that's really about it. William Contreras is fine. Wilson Contreras is fine, but nothing is really exciting here. On FanDuel, I think the only one I would consider is Sal Perez and maybe a pinch of Trevino, just to differentiate a chalky Yankee stack.
Okay, I am looking on FanDuel, and the highest projected guy, who only costs 2.7, is MJ Melendez, and I don't think either of you mentioned him.
He's fine as well. I think Sal Perez has a little bit more upside. Cease actually has reverse splits a little bit, so he's totally fine. He's attacked, like he's against my highest owned pitcher today, so I'm not playing any of them, especially on FanDuel.
Gotcha. Very good. All right, take me to first base, Ice.
All right. Anthony Rizzo is a good option, even though he's lefty, and Sears does have strong traditional splits, meaning he handles lefties better than righties. I talked about that Oakland bullpen, which is atrocious. If I can get 2 at-bats against an Oakland bullpen, I'm fine with that. Christian Walker is one of my absolute favorite plays of the night. Huge fly ball rate against a massive ground ball pitcher in Garrett. That sets up really well. He has crushed lefties throughout his career. If you want to save some money at the position, I don't mind Emmanuel Rivera in the same Arizona lineup. You can play him at third as well on DK where I'm looking here. Lamont Wade has first base eligibility. Really like him in a Giant stack. DJ LeMahieu in a Yankee stack would prefer to play him at second where he's eligible, like on FanDuel. He also has third in a couple places. Freddie Freeman in a Dodgers stack. We didn't talk about the Dodgers much, but I like both sides of this game. Peralta I'm playing a ton of, but I will have Dodgers stacks as well, just because it's an elite team. So despite the tough matchup, I'm all about that. If you're punting all the way down, Matt Mervis is 2,200 on DK. Certainly don't mind him. He's a big power prospect. Michaelis, not a big strikeout guy.
Okay. When you go both sides of a game like that, when you're playing the pitcher and a stack, how often do you just find yourself in the middle where, like, neither really was successful and then you've lost both. Is that a common occurrence?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does happen.
Yeah.
I
You
can't put a
win them
number
both.
on how often. But what's
Right.
that?
Both sides can't win, but both sides could lose.
Correct. Yeah. So really, I mean, if I'm running 20 or 30 lineups on a given night, I don't really care if 29 of them lose if one of them wins. Like that's the only goal for the evening.
Yeah. I need to wrap my head around that, and I can't. And that's like my biggest hurdle. But all right. Tim, what are your thoughts here? I think we're at first.
Yeah, Andrew Vaughn is my favorite on both sites. He's 3,100 on both sites, going up against Greinke. I really love the Christian Walker call. He would make, like, I might consider like one-offing him instead of just stacking Arizona. Like I can't stack everybody, but I could get like pieces of that game. I like the Rizzo call. I really like the Dodgers tonight, but that lineup is so watered down. Like I almost considered like, like I think Peralta is almost like an interesting kind of like GPP pitcher because that Dodgers, I mean, they're still good, but I think it's just kind of watered down. And then my favorite play at first for tournaments would be Lamont Wade. Normally I have to shy away from this guy because I usually only play one or two teams. And he usually comes with very, very high pinch hit rate, but that's not the case this evening. So he would be like he's like my favorite single entry first baseman.
Great. Take me to second.
So second is kind of like, I don't know. It's easy, but it's hard. Like Gleyber Torres is way too cheap on FanDuel. And if you're playing cash games, you have to play Gleyber Torres. Tournaments, it's a completely different conversation because his ownership is going to be sky high. He's 2,800 on FanDuel. He's projected through the roof for both points and ownership. He gets in a really, really strong matchup against Sears. It's kind of like up to you what you want to do. Like cash games, he's a must. Tournaments, it's really like, it's a tough decision. I'm not playing him right now in my single entry team, but it's just about ownership. It's not because of matchup. It's just because, in some of the higher dollar single entries, ownership just gets so condensed. I'm just going to make a stand, and I could obviously be completely way off and terrible, but that's just my personal take. And then I really like Estrada for the Giants. And then you could definitely pivot to like DJ LeMahieu as a way to get different. Like if you're stacking the Yankees and you want to get a Contrarian, leave off Torres and put in LeMahieu, and just a way to get different with a stack. I think that's an interesting tournament play. And then I think everything else is kind of just people that would be in your stacks.
Okay, very good. Ice, your thoughts at second. I will add my odds on puking before the show I thought were maybe 5%, and that's quickly up to like 30%. So stay tuned.
Oh no.
I'm not feeling great. We may have some fireworks here. Ice, what are your thoughts here at second?
So Gleyber Torres is an interesting decision today. I absolutely love him. I hate the ownership, but I think this is a fantastic spot for him. He has a great chance to hit a home run today. I'm going to be at least at the field, probably a little bit overweight. I'm getting different at pitcher. I think you can play Trevino in your Yankee stacks to get different as well. So if you're playing him, you definitely need differentiation as the highest owned hitter on the slate. But I do love him. I will have significant exposure to him. Kettle Marte in an Arizona stack, another fly ball hitter that hits from the right side of the plate. DJ LeMahieu, like Tim mentioned, liked him a good amount. Marcus Semien might be my favorite tournament second baseman. He is very expensive, but Gilbert has those reverse splits. Semien has hit righties just fine this season. So when I'm looking for Texas power bats, Marcus Semien will certainly be part of that.
Very good. Take me to third base.
All right. So Alex Bregman is really cheap on FanDuel and looks to be pretty popular here. Like Tim mentioned, I'd like the Astros also a good amount today. Sandoval, a pretty decent pitcher, but certainly not unbeatable. Bregman is a very solid hitter. He's up at near the top of the order, so love his price on FanDuel. Emmanuel Rivera, who I mentioned at first, you can play at third as well. Max Muncy, Like I mentioned several times, tough matchup against Peralta, but the talented Dodgers hitters I'm still interested in. I like Evan Longoria in a Diamondback stack as well. He's still got a little bit of power even in his advanced age, and he is a fly ball hitter as well. So those ground balls of Garrett don't scare me much. LeMahieu has third base eligibility. Talked about him already. Eugenio Suarez, I'm always interested in that power bet.
Yeah, same here. All right. They're going over vomit odds, Jared. So just let it out. You'll feel better. He clearly put the bet on the voms. What your thoughts at third, Ice?
The only other third baseman I'd mention is J.D. Davis for the Giants. I don't think we have that lineup out yet, do we, Ice?
Let me see here. I have it pulled up.
No,
nope, not yet.
Not yet. But yeah, assuming he's like in the 3 or 4 hole, I really like him for tournaments. I really like the Giants today. So, but I think Keith pretty much covered third quite nicely. So I'm going to just move it right over to short.
Yeah.
Anthony Volt for the Yankees is definitely like your cash game option. He's 2,700 on FanDuel. Like batting leadoff. Just great spot. Definitely your cash game guy. If you're not playing Estrada, like, you know, second base shortstop, like you could play like Torres at second, then you could go Estrada at short and do like a Yankees Giants stack, which I would love. Tim Anderson on both sites. I really like the White Sox tonight. And then Jeremy Pena for the Astros. He's actually kind of expensive. He's 3,200 on FanDuel, but I think that's going to keep his ownership down. But I've mentioned how much I like Houston tonight.
Very good. Ice, your thoughts at short?
Yeah, Volpe, the top option for me as well at the top of the Yankees order. Estrada is fantastic. Tim Anderson is one of my favorite White Sox, even though I'm not playing a ton of them. If in the stacks I'm playing, he will certainly be in there. I don't mind Bobby Witt as a one-off. I'm playing a ton of Cease, but he can give up some power. Bobby Witt has plenty of that. He has plenty of speed as well. So I do like him in tournaments. Willy Adames against Gonsolin. I'm not stacking Brewers, but I don't mind power bats there. Anything else is pretty much just in a stack. I do like Dansby Swanson's price on FanDuel. The Cubs aren't a great stack just because Michaelis does a pretty good job generally of getting out of jams and things like that, but I don't mind Swanson even though the wind's blowing in.
Okay, let's get to the outfield.
All right, so Harrison Bader is really cheap on both sites. He's hitting 5th for the Yankees. He just came off the IL like 5 games ago. He already has 2 home runs. Both of them have come against lefties, so he's in a fantastic spot tonight. Very cheap. Luis Robert in a White Sox stack is certainly good, hitting cleanup today. Benintendi at the top of the White Sox order, certainly good as well. Jock Peterson, one of my favorite hitters on the slate, big-time power against a pitcher who's not a great prospect and has 1 career start. Add Mitch Haniger and Michael Conforto, 2 more Giants outfielders to that mix. Love Jared Kelenic against Gray today. Gray has really struggled. We haven't talked about Seattle a ton. Outside of Raleigh at catcher, Julio Rodriguez, obviously his teammate can play him too. I do like the Mariners a good amount. Gray just has not been quite right recently. Strikeouts have been down. He's given up a bunch of hard contact. So I do like Mariners, even though we haven't talked about him much. James Outman for the Dodgers. Of course, Trout and Ohtani all the way up top. Yordan Alvarez, I'll throw in that mix too. Definitely don't shy away from lefty with that guy. And then Mookie Betts for another premium guy.
Great. Tim, your thoughts on the outfield?
Yeah, he covered it pretty well. I would just add like Andrew Benintendi is an interesting option, batting second for the White Sox. Teoscar Hernandez, I think, is going to be kind of forgotten guy for Seattle. I'm glad that Keith brought up Seattle again. Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez. I just think that they're going to be very, very low owned. There's kind of left on left matchups people shy away from, and obviously they can fail. But I think given the ownership and their ceiling, I really like Houston today. I really like the Jared Kelenic call. And then I don't know if Keith mentioned Jock Peterson, but I really like Jock today because I think he's going to get his full allotment of at-bats. So I really like the Giants today.
Okay, very good. Guys, we've got about 14 minutes here until we hit the lock, which is plenty of time for some QQs. First, though, let's get a few little home run calls here. Ice, you want to lead us off with something? You can be chalky or off the wall. I don't care.
Yeah, my top guy today is going to be Christian Walker. TJ mentioned him as a Spidey bomb as his last one. I was hoping he was going to squeak through there so he would be uncalled already. But I absolutely agree with that. Love Christian Walker today. I will go way off the board as well. Give me Jose Trevino for a home run for the Yankees.
Very nice.
Wow,
Tim?
I like that. I'm going to go Kyle Tucker and Jock Peterson.
Excellent. Gentlemen, let's get to some QQs. As always, I'm starting in the RG Discord. And I'll bounce kind of between that and the YouTube chat. Hey, if you're watching this on YouTube and you're like, holy smokes, how is this show free? It is some of the best content in the world. It's free because you pay with a thumbs up. That's all we ask. Just hit that thumbs up button for us so we can get it to more folks. So our sponsor is happy. We can keep the show free. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up for us. A little subscribe as well would be nice. Well, let's dive into it here. And we'll start with Tom, a DK Cash question. Tim, you want Cortez Ahmed or Michaelis Anderson?
Cortez.
All right, FanDuel Cash. I think since one of you really does focus on cash in the other tournaments, I really
If that's all right with Keith, I'll take the cash and he can do all the tourneys if that's all right.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, let's do that. FanDuel Cash question: Jock Marte or Bader Kelenic?
Ooh, the second one.
Scrolling up a bit in the YouTube. Mostly they're just talking about me vomiting. K-Town's Finest, what are your thoughts on Oakland Yankee stacks in a DK tournament, Ice?
I absolutely love it. I have several of that combination.
Very good.
Yeah, I do. I think the Yankees should be if it's like a 5-3 or a 4-3 situation, I do want Yankees as the stronger side of that. But I love the Oakland bats. Didn't mention Brett Rooker in the outfield or Shane Langeliers at catcher. Love both of those guys. Jesus Aguilar as well. So like those three Oakland power righties, I absolutely love today.
Great. All right. DK Cash question, Tim. Benintendi or Lamont Wade Jr.?
I say Wade today.
Okay, very good. Some other folks in the chat kind of agreeing with that call as well. Colin says, hey, I just popped in here. Who are your two favorite pitchers for cash on DK? I don't remember.
I'd say it's Cortez and Gallen, but you could also do Gilbert and Gallen or Gilbert and Cortez. It's some combination of those three guys. It kind of depends on what you want to do with bats.
Okay, great. Sherm says, FanDuel Cash question: Rizzo, Estrada, or Volpe and Walker?
The second.
Very good. Ball DK Cash question for you here: Benintendi or Wade? Did we just do that one in a different
Yeah,
format?
you just did that one. It's Wade.
Wade. Perfect. Hoosier Hang Banner says, when Tim was a kid, he shut off the water while his friends were having fun on the slip and slide. Rude.
That's pretty good. That's pretty close, actually. Yeah. I really like that. That sounds like fun to me.
Yeah.
We found Tim's version of fun.
We found it. It's just taking fun away from others is Tim's fun.
That was so good.
Robbie says, fade Cortez and Gallen. He just said that as a comment. He did not say it as a question. I will say it as a question, and I'll kick it to Ice for that in the tournament.
I am fully on board with the Cortez fade. There are so many pitchers like him today. Like Oakland has been above average against lefties. The Gallen fade is a little bit trickier because his ownership is a lot lower, and he has, like, if anybody's going to break this slate and get 10 strikeouts, Zach Gallen is one of maybe 2 or 3 guys. Like that's why I'm playing so much Dylan Cease. He's in that conversation, but Gallen has been really, really good this year.
Okay, very good. All right, DK Cash question here, Tim: Gilbert, Estrada, or Cease and Glaber?
You should be playing Glaber and Cash, and you shouldn't be playing Cease and Cash. So I really think you should kind of start like doing a rebuild there, because I don't like Cease and Cash games, and you need to be playing Glaber and Cash games.
Okay, excellent. FanDuel single entry. Ice, do you mind a wraparound stack with the Giants? Wisely, Wade, Davis, Jock. I guess that's Wisely, Wade, Davis, Jock. Wisely seems like he could be a guy who has power and speed.
Yeah, I'm completely fine with that. Wraparound stacks are something I love to do as well, just because people hate playing the bottom of the order. But if they get on for those top of the order guys, like that's where your correlation comes into effect.
All right, make sure you guys are getting in some questions, because if we run out of questions, I'm not sitting around here to throw up on my computer. So let's get those QQs in. We still have about 8 minutes. And I should add here, if you guys haven't checked it out, make sure you're watching Will's Take Your Pick'em show. It's, DFS pick expert, leader of the prop shop in the Discord, Will Priester, aka the Chief. It's kicking off a new show for fans of Prize Picks, Underdog, and more. It's the Take Your Pick'em show, live every weekday at 10:30 Eastern for an early look at the board, your favorite pick'em sites, get expert plays from Will himself before the stats have a chance to update. We'll also have a guest on from time to time throughout the industry, so make sure you're checking out. It's on the RotoGrinders YouTube page, so you're already in the right spot. It's more of a reason why you should subscribe, then you won't miss it. It's a good move. I really need to work on that read. That was pretty choppy, pretty rough, but
That's all right. That's all right, Kevin. You're having an off day. It's okay.
It's not my best, man. I'm not doing my best. All right, let's see if we got some more QQs. DK Cash question here: Trevino or Grandal?
It's tough. It's really a coin flip between the two. I like Grindal.
Okay. All right. Steve O says, Ice, I'm trying to find out a guy to round out my Mariner stack other than Ty France, parentheses, he's bad. Should I go Teoscar or Trammell?
It's Teoscar. I mean, he's just a lot better hitter. I know he's had his struggles since coming to Seattle, but he'll turn it around. It's Teoscar for me.
Very good. Falcor says, FanDuel single entry. You like Gallen or Cortez with an extra bat? You like Gallen, right? Am I making that up?
Yeah, I prefer Gallen in that situation for sure.
Yeah. All right. Late, your favorite GPP pitchers on DK. So if you could pick two on DK, what's kind of your favorite setup here?
I like paying up twice today. I think some people will mess around with like Michaelis and DeSclafani, and when they're paying up, I think they're going to Cortez and Gilbert, and Gallen, certainly. So my two favorites are going to be, my favorite are Cease and Gallen, but like I certainly don't mind Cease and Peralta.
Okay, great. DK Cash question, Tim, you like Estrada Jock or Volpe Kalinic?
I think the first one is the way that I'm going. I like the Giants quite a bit today.
Okay, this is a similar question to some degree here. Mark Vaughn says Volpe, Pavin, Smith, or Ahmed Kalinic?
I guess the first one.
Okay. DJ or Rivera? There was no context added. I'll give this to Ice. DJ or Rivera?
If you're stacking either Yankees or Diamondbacks, it would be whichever team you're stacking. Just in a vacuum, I'd have DJ slightly ahead.
Okay. San Francisco stacks. Ice, you want Conforto or Haniger?
I like them both. Conforto has struggled a ton, so I'll go Haniger over Conforto, but they're both fine.
Okay. J3 says, hey, I understand the lack of pinch hit risk today, but before you guys jump off, are there any surprises to potentially look out for in the San Francisco lineup before it locks?
I don't think so. Do you, Keith?
No.
I mean,
so I think that quite like he's like it in the lineup itself. I think that's what he's saying is like, are we sure what's projected is what's
I'd be more worried about like having Longoria get pinch hit for, right, Keith? I mean, like someone like that. I'm just not worried about the traditional kind of lefties that we traditionally worry about, like Wade or Jock to get pinch hit for.
Well, I guess he means, do you think that there's going to be a random starter that outside of who we have projected?
So, I mean, catcher is certainly always a position where teams can do something different. Yeah, I mean, there's no, you just have to wait for the lineup and be ready to adjust if it does. But I think most of the guys on the bench are cheaper than, I guess, Wisely and Stevenson are free. So if, yeah, I mean, there's really no way to answer that without seeing the lineup. Like it's certainly a possibility.
I would say no, but I would say no to that question, but you never really know.
Gotcha. All right. JL says, I hope everybody's playing the Yankees. Let's go JP Sears. Is that crazy? Is that crazy?
I think that's a little crazy today. That fly ball rate is tricky. It's not out of the. I don't think it's like insane crazy, but like the Yankees are my favorite team today. But Sears could like the Yankees lineup with no Judge, no Stanton, no Donaldson is certainly not a typical Yankees lineup.
Yeah. All right. Amateur Hour says, all right, DK single entry GPP, Cease or Gallon, and thus by extension, Gallon Perez or Cease Bart.
When given the 2v2, it's Cease Perez for me. Wait,
No,
they're facing each other.
It's Gallon Perez or Cease Bart.
Assuming that's Sal Perez, and it's Gallon Perez.
The Oakland catcher.
Okay. Still Gallon Perez for me.
Okay, very good. What are your thoughts on a Kansas City 3-man in tournaments?
Cease is my highest owned pitcher. Those are my thoughts on it. But
Yep.
he certainly has blow up risk. He's been bad his last 3 starts. He walks a ton of guys. I don't love the full stack, but you could certainly talk me into a mini stack.
Very good. FanDuel cash question here, Tim. Volpe and Ohtani or Estrada and Ketel Marte?
I guess the first one. I don't really like Ohtani, but Ohtani's a great player, so I don't really like Ohtani for cash, but he's all right.
Yeah, right. So
Yep.
there's nothing wrong with him inherently.
No, nothing wrong with him. Yeah, if you can get to him comfortably, go for it.
FanDuel cash, does Cheese have Michaelis tagged on FanDuel? I have no idea.
I don't know.
No, on DK he does.
On
because
DK,
he's so
he does.
cheap.
He's so cheap on DraftKings.
Gotcha. Okay, very good. Hey, if you're watching this, make sure you hit that thumbs up for us. We appreciate it. We got about 2 minutes until lock. We'll see if a few more QQs come in. Right now, we are all caught up. So I'll give you all about 30 seconds to get some questions in and see if we can keep this rolling into the lock. I didn't mention this, but I probably should have. There's no real weather concerns out there. If there was, I would have brought them up, of course. Of course, the pitching weather in Chicago is very good for pitchers. It's really the only kind of notable thing. Let's see. Here we go. FanDuel cash, Freeman or Walker in FanDuel cash, Tim?
Walker.
Very good. Got a couple people typing, trying to get in some QQs. Richie Small says Hunter Brown. This is DK. Ice, Hunter Brown Conforto or Cortez Sabal?
Brown Conforto.
Okay. What is the worst thing Tim did as a kid to ruin someone's fun? The people want to know. I don't think you were actually curmudgeon. You're a very nice guy.
I didn't ruin anyone's fun.
No,
doesn't mean that I wanted to participate though, but I didn't ruin anyone's fun.
Yeah, I could see that. What do you guys think of Hunter Brown over 5.5 Ks on FanDuel at plus 104 from Todd?
Ooh. I wrote up Hunter Brown on Scores and Odds his last start, and then he decided to walk the world. So he's on my bad list. I'm concerned about the control issues. I don't love the matchup against the Angels. I'm just looking it up here really quick.
The bat hasn't projected for 4.1 strikeouts. So that doesn't sound great to me.
I don't like his over today. The Angels lineup also only strikes out at 21% versus right-handed pitching. So not a great spot for Hunter Brown today, but he certainly could do it any given night. So I like him for tournaments. Don't love the K-prop.
Gotcha. Great. All right. FanDuel GPP. What are your thoughts on Robert Jr.? It might just be Robert Jr. and I'm fancying it up. What are your thoughts for Robert Jr.?
I think it's Robert.
That's embarrassing. FanDuel GPP. Any interest?
I mean, sure. He's a great hitter. He's one of the highest owned hitters on the slate. I'm underweight on White Sox, but I mean, yeah, sure.
Aside, says Estrada or Timmy Anderson straight up FanDuel cash. Ice, we've hit the lock, by the way.
I would go Anderson if it's cash.
Okay. And then we'll get last question out of here. Is Glaber too high owned even at his price in a DK tournament?
You could certainly make that argument. My stance is that he's one of the top hitters on the slate, and I love the spot for him. So I'm finding ways to get different, whether it's at pitcher or with my secondary stack or playing the bottom of the order. But you can certainly make that case. Like, he has significant ownership enough that he is a viable tournament fade.
Okay. We are going to bounce on out of here. Hoosiers Hang Banner says, Tim stole the cable that connected the VCR to the TV at his slumber parties.
No, the first one was so much better.
Yeah. Nolan Arenado scratched, by the way. Do we care?
It's not huge news, but it is relevant to some somebody, I'm sure.
All right, yeah.
But-
Get them out of your lineups if you've got them in there. Make sure you've got the RotoGrinders alerts. We send you things like that. It certainly helps. Even a square like me can learn things just from a little push app. It's good things. We're going to bounce on out of here for Ice, for Tim, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love it. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.